Hello everyone. We've got lucky and come across an emerald-spotted wood dove, and I'm hoping it's going to call again. Let's just wait a second. Here it goes. And this little bird has officially opened the Sunset Safari, coming to you live from South Africa. My name is Scott, and I'm teamed up with Seb on camera.
Hello everyone.
It's a cloudy day, nice and cool, and we've got some very, very exciting prospects. It's not just the emerald-spotted wood doves we're after. We're also out in search of big cats. I'm heading off to where a young male leopard had his remains of a kudu kill, and Steve is heading off to where he found a pride of lion on foot this morning, and Taylor is on bushwalk. So we are 3 in total, away from the hoping to find, still on site there. He's basically got the remains of a kudu that he pulled out the belly, and it's excuse me, I've got a little bit of a cough. Maybe, and I do apologize for that, but it's just one of those things. Shaky signal as I went through that. It will re-emphasize that we are in fact coming to you live, and it's still a bit shaky, so I'm sorry about that. We shall send you across to Steve.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you once again on Safari Live with myself, Steve Falconbridge, joined by Dave on camera, and we're out in the African wilderness in Djuma, South Africa, next to the Kruger National Park, Sabi Sands Private Reserve. And we are on game drive this afternoon in search of the Nkuhuma Pride, which we walked this morning, and we left somewhere in that direction. Right now, I'm currently on foot, even though I am with the vehicle over there at Chitwa, a beautiful little pan that has filled up quite substantially after the rain we had two nights ago, I believe, 3 nights ago, and this is as full as I've seen this pan, and it is a wonderful place to come and look for tracks and signs of animals. But this afternoon there's not too much happening around Chitwa, but we are going to continue on through to the Mulwati drainage system. So please send through your questions and comments to #SafariLive. Follow us on the YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to see this afternoon. But as I said already, we are going to look for the Nkuhumas. I think they moved off a little bit from where they were this morning, but the temperature's not too hot. It's about 29 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So the lions might have moved off slightly, but don't worry. We will see if we can find them. Giraffe Girl would like to see leopards and lions. Well, Scott is on his way to see a leopard, and we are on our way to see some lions. So jump on board, fasten your seatbelts, and enjoy the afternoon with us. Chitwa is looking wonderful this afternoon. A very nice place to come and see an animal wallow, an elephant drink. I had Hosanna there, the male leopard, young male leopard, once on my first morning. So you should always check the water areas, because water is the currency of life. And while we continue on our quest to find these Nkuhuma lion pride, let's go to Taylor and Herbie on foot.
Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari, of course. So out on drive, as you already met Steve, and then I'm going to be on bushwalk today, which is quite exciting. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me is Senzo, and then up in front, keeping us nice and safe today, is Herbie. Now, I think our plan is we're going to pick up a vehicle now from our other accommodation, and then jump on in it and head towards the Mulwati, where the Nkuhumas were last seen this morning. They did go into some thick bush, I believe, and disappeared, but being on foot, of course, makes it a little bit easier to navigate through some of that thick vegetation. So that's going to be the plan. I'm going to head there, and then maybe we'll look for some butterflies. But it seems as though Tumba is taking advantage of the cool day. Let's go see what he's doing.
Well, we've just got on site with him, and he literally immediately picked up the remains of the kudu fetus. It's basically just the neck, head, and 1 or 2 limbs. There he goes. And it looks like he's wanting to take it up into this tree where he can safely stash it. Well done, boy. Now, you wouldn't believe it, but he actually attempted to jump up a different branch initially, and he fell flat on his back, which was hilarious. And well done, boy. You've done a good job. I don't know why you don't go to one of the many gigantic marula trees not far from here, but instead you choose this relatively flimsy and hard-to-negotiate little bush willow tree. But I guess he is a young boy, so he is learning the ways of the wild and probably making some bad decisions as he goes along doing so. Isn't it astounding that this kudu was still inside its mother's belly? And of course it's very sad, but I'm absolutely astounded as to how big they are when they're born. Michelle, you've mentioned that was amazing, and yes, it certainly was, not just the leopard's agility, but also Sebastian's, to be able to flip the camera up. We kind of couldn't see him, so his launch up into the tree took us a little bit by surprise, but as I said, both Seb and the leopard did incredibly well with their agile reflexes. The leopard to get up the tree, and Seb to make sure you guys all got to see what happened. How cool is this? Very fortunate timing, and timing is just about everything when spending time out on safari. Sometimes you're required to invest hours and hours and hours to see something cool like we've just seen. So this afternoon is a good example of how lucky we've already got, or kind of how lucky we've been to start off the safari with some good action. Excuse me again, sorry guys, I'm going to be coughing the whole afternoon because I've got a cough. Okay, now, I'm guessing, and it's just a guess, that he's probably going to leave this kill up here. He would have taken it down from where it was previously up another tree, and fed on the ground where it's definitely more easy and more comfortable. And I'm sure very quickly, yeah, the novelty is going to wear off here. He can't be very comfortable on these branches, but he's kind of making a plan for the time being. I'm fairly confident he's going to come down and have a snooze and just relax. What a scene. Okay, well, it seems like the Catterday luck is continuing. Why don't you jump on board with Steve and see what he's got lined up for you?
What a wonderful Catterday we are having, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we found at least one individual of the Unkuhuma pride lying up just there on top of this dry riverbed. We are currently in the Milwati drainage riverbed itself at the moment. And he just gave us little peering eyes there, so we're quite fortunate we're able to see him. Moved off quite a few hundred meters from where they were this morning, but we have found them far quicker than we did this morning on foot, which is marvelous. Bex, we are going to try to spend some time with the Unkumas this afternoon. And Giraffe Girl, we have found lions and leopards for you. I hope your afternoon is satisfied. But never fear, folks, we are going to try to get into a better position to see these lions. It's going to take a little bit of doing because they're up on the riverbank. So we're probably going to have to come around and out onto another road and come around. But we know where they are now at least. We can now make some headway towards where they are, which is very exciting. Very, very exciting. We're going to go back to Scott, who has also had a lot of luck, and he's got Tumba in the tree.
Yes, I'm surprised that he's still up here. He's taking some time to clean his toes, make sure everything's in order, and also his body. Well done, boy. 10 out of 10 for personal hygiene. 2 out of 10 for tree choice. Matt, you would like to know if Tumba's possibly not heading to the big, comfortable marula trees because there could still be some hyenas lurking nearby. And yes, that most certainly is the case, and I'm glad you are clearly on Tumba's side and not mine. So I was being a little bit harsh there, and it definitely is a good point that you raised. There could be hyenas lurking around nearby. They know full well that there's still some food and snacks that are up for grabs here. So yes, I think that was the science behind moving just a short distance into possibly just a different tree, which will allow him to kind of sits in different positions, and, you know, he sat in the other tree, which is behind us, for in all likelihood, the whole of last night. Well, from about 9 o'clock last night until the vehicles got to this morning. Apparently it was almost like falling asleep while he was sitting up. He was so tired after a full night. And I mean, we can try and show you the fork that he was in. It's not going to be easy, and there's an antenna in the way, but he was up in this little tree in, I think, yeah, that major fork that we can see up there, or possibly one below. But either way, I mean, it just wasn't in a good spot for him to get comfortable. Anyway, he spent the whole night there, and now at least he's not going to probably have to spend the whole night up in this tree, but time will tell. I actually haven't spent too much time with this guy in and around Kills and Hyena. Take care, and Mrs. Zero, or Mrs. Something, you've said great balance and spatial awareness, and yes, the leopards are definitely the best of the big cats when it comes to climbing and agility. They are incredibly nimble and can go just about anywhere they like. I would actually like to see, you know, if push came to shove, what a leopard could actually do if it really wanted to. I mean, I haven't seen any spellbinding things in the flesh, but I guess one thing that I have seen that I never thought possible whilst watching the video initially was, excuse me, a leopard here in the Sabi Sands. I'm not too sure exactly where. It had managed to get a vervet monkey stuck between not one but two big trees. I think they were both marula trees, and the kind of monkey could jump from one branch, you know, terminal branch in one tree across to the terminal branches of another. Oh, watch closely here. Ah, graceful dismount. Well done, Tamba. So, oh, sorry. And as I was saying, the monkey was jumping from tree to tree without having to go down onto the floor, but the leopard was having to go all the way down the main trunk until eventually it managed to corner the monkey in one of the trees, and it somehow miraculously actually caught it. It was winter, so there was no leaves in the tree, and you could see very clearly what the leopard was doing, jumping from branch to branch. And I mean, considering how big they are, especially compared to a small vervet monkey, they get 10 points for moving so quickly. Now, another thing, just to bear in mind, for any of you who may have only joined the safari recently, as in today, and not know the background to the story, the fact that this young male leopard killed an adult, fully grown female kudu is an absolutely awesome story, because it's a serious showdown. That female kudu is probably 2.5 times his size, maybe even more, in terms of body weight, so it would have been an almighty struggle for him to be able to pull her down. And who knows, one day we will get lucky and be able to showcase you some of these incredible showdowns and interactions. I've never seen a leopard taking down an adult kudu. I've seen a big male leopard with a fully grown kudu bull kill, which I also couldn't believe. Why is he sniffing around there? Maybe he's sniffing around the titbits that the hyenas may have taken on and fed in the various parts around this kill scene. Purple, you would like to know, how high can a leopard climb? Well, I guess, you know, as high as they want to. It's never ending, I guess, as high as the tree is. But yeah, there's nothing stopping them just keeping on going up as long as the tree's big enough to. The highest I've seen a leopard was also in a video, actually 2 different videos. One was of a leopard going right up to the top of a tree, eating a baby vulture out of a nest, right on the top of the canopy, and I'm guessing that was about 12 meters high, quite a tall tree. And the second time was a leopard jumping out of also a very tall tree, about 10 meters high was my calculation or guesstimate. And it jumped from that high. It was completely vertical, head first, body, tail, flying downwards onto an impala. How's that? Now, it has been documented here in the Sabi Sands, but I mean, if we look at these marula trees off to our right, they're kind of 5 or 6 meters high on average. The horizontal branches where a leopard would be perching itself, I'd say kind of that spot there is, yeah, about 5 or 6 meters. 3 average door frames off the ground. So yeah, much higher than that. Very good, and I guess if lions are giving them a hard time, they will also have a good reason to go very high up into the trees, where the lions will have less kind of confidence in climbing. Wunderbar. Speaking of the lions, we are going to send you across to Steve.
Thanks, Scotty. Sorry about that, Davy. Hold on. I told you folks, fasten your seatbelts. We have come around off of a road which was giving us probably the best access towards where we saw that young male. And now we just have to find them. It is quite thick, and we're trying to follow this sort of river system, because they were on the bank of the river system, so I don't think they'll be too far away. But it looks very different from this side. Very, very different indeed. So we don't want to go too far and then end up jumping past them altogether. Proud Cat Mama would like to know, of all the predators, which is the most aggressive? That is a very interesting question. It's also quite sort of specific in context, because in my opinion, the most aggressive predator is a honey badger. But pound for pound, they're not that big an animal, but their sort of behavior warrants that everything leaves them alone. Watch out there, Dave. But the most aggressive big cat would, without a doubt, be a female lion or leopardess with a cub or 2. They are not to be tangled with, and they behave in very different manner to a normal lioness without a cub. So it is quite an interesting question, but essentially on foot, lions aren't aggressive. Leopards aren't really aggressive. They just defend themselves and their families. And if you cross any lions, like you saw this morning, we walked to within about 40 yards of this pride, and they didn't do too much. They didn't do too much towards us, because we were giving them space and we were giving them some respect. Okay. So here are some tracks of where I think someone followed them this morning. So it's possible that we might be right behind them here. But I know James doesn't like the word aggressive, because essentially, are you aggressive if you're a mother and someone threatens your child? Is that being aggressive, or is that being defensive? I pose that to you, Proud Cat Mama. So it's important to understand the difference there. Aggression is something that we see, and we call it aggression because it's a response. But it's in response to something that has caused that animal stress. Oh, watch out. Cause the animal stress. That is what is the ultimate reason for them behaving in such a manner. So if you take away the pressure, will that animal behave in the same manner? And I think not. I think not. And so when we see aggressive responses from cats, it's got to do with people not understanding their behavior. For example, if I was driving like this now and I saw the lion right here and it was crouching down low and I kept going forward, it would invoke a response from the animal, either run away or aggressively charge the vehicle. But if you switch off and you behave yourself, the animal relaxes again, you can go closer. So that is how you need to pose it. Why are they behaving like that? Not because they're aggressive, because you're pushing their buttons or interfering in their comfort zone. Okay, so I don't know where these lions are, but I'm going to go over to Scott, I believe, and he is with Tumba.
Alrighty, everyone. It looks like Tumba's got comfortable now, continuing to groom himself, and he must be absolutely relieved that it's a nice, cool day with a little bit of a breeze, because when your belly is that full and it's hot and humid, it is not a very pleasant scenario to be in, as I'm sure a lot of us that like sushi buffets can relate to. A sushi buffet always gets me into the worst state regarding extended belly. I remember being at university and eating myself into a pain-induced coma. Giraffe Girl, you would like to know why is kind of this leopard as well as hukumuri not really paying too much attention to the ticks on their bodies? Is it because of the heat, or what's going on? I don't have a clue, actually, and I personally haven't been able to work out any kind of correlations between weather and seasons and the amount of ticks on any given animal. Yeah, I wonder. If anybody's got any insights into kind of that, it would be very interesting to know, because, I mean, definitely on Hukumuri the other day, he had some that would have been so easy for his claws to reach and pluck off on his face with just one or two well-aimed scratches. I mean, this guy's not looking nearly as bad as Hukumuri is. I mean, unless I just haven't been looking very closely. Hukumuri had about 4 or 5 just in and around his whisker marks and his chin. Tamba's not looking as badly kept as Hukumuri. Maybe it's just a combination of the fact that there are more ticks around after all the rain at the moment. But yeah, I don't have too much insights onto that or valid theories. Zach, you would like to know if Hukumuri has had any meals recently, and no, not that we're aware of. We don't know where he's ended up, basically, since I stupidly lost him the other day. We don't know where he's gone or what he's done. So, yeah, he could be anywhere. Excuse me, guys. Having said that, we haven't found any of his tracks, which means maybe he is on a kill somewhere, because a big male leopard like that's moving around quite a bit, establishing his new territory here on Djuma, or his extended territory on Djuma here. You usually see their tracks because they're moving around quite a bit, up, down, backwards and forwards. So maybe he did get lucky shortly after I lost him yesterday morning. Was it yesterday morning? I think it was yesterday morning. Yeah, it was yesterday morning. I thought he may pop onto the scene here last night, to be honest. Who knows, maybe he did. And I'm about to post a video of some footage that I got of the hyena swooping into the kill last night, so keep an eye out for that on either my Instagram page or my Facebook page. And I think we will share it on the Safari Live page, so if you can't find me, don't stress. We'll make it easily findable for everyone as soon as possible. But yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal to see how those hyenas monstered their way through that kudu carcass. Very good. Well, it sounds like he's disappearing into the thickets, and you are doing exactly the same thing, joining Taylor as she forages on foot.
We're cheating. We're on a bush drive now. We're not even on foot anymore. We decided that it was too far to get there quick enough to help Steve. And before they get on the move again, of course, we'd rather find the nkuhumas while they're relaxing and just resting. This is quite weird looking at the camera at this angle as well. I've never had to do it too. It's bizarre. And I'm driving slowly because I don't want Sense to fall off of the car. So what we're doing now is we're on Pangolin track. We're going to go towards Chitwa, and then we're going to hook a right. No, I'm just joking. We don't speak like that. We're going to go right down Twin Dams. And then I think we're going to park somewhere quite close to the Mamba Junction. Oh, no. Steve has beaten us to it, Herbie. He's just found the lions. Can you believe it? So where would you like to go, Herbie? Wait. Do you want to go east? Should we look for Tundi then? How does that sound? Shall we go and look for Tundi then? Now, as we drive about, we don't know what we could see. There's lots of mud wallows. It's been quite hot, so maybe we're going to even get an elephant, Chelepan, who knows? Purple, you were wondering, seeing as though Steve has just found the nkuhumas, what is the meaning behind nkuhuma? Well, as far as I'm aware, nkuhuma translates to brown ivory, which is a type of tree that we get here. We don't see many of them, but there is one on Philemon's cut line, which is quite nice. So maybe at some point over the next few days, we'll try and get to it and have a look at it. And that's apparently where the nkuhumas were found laying underneath a brown ivory tree. So yeah, so that's what it means. So just to now update you on our plans, I think what we're going to try and do, and I'm sure you're all going to be quite happy about this, is that we're obviously going to give the lions a skip now, because Steve Vovo has done a sterling job this afternoon of relocating them. Well done. And I know it could have been quite a tricky task because it's quite dense in there. So what we may try and do is head a little bit further east, maybe park around where we had that sighting with Tandy and her impala kill the last time she was seen. Maybe have a little look around there and see if we can't find any more tracks, see where she's gone. Also, Tengana was seen at Torchwood Dam this afternoon, which was pretty epic. So maybe he comes walking onto the property too. It's nice and cool. But let's go across to Steve to see how those Nkuhumas are faring.
Thank you very much, Taylor. We have managed to get all the way around and on top of this dry riverbed bank, which was harder than it seemed. And we have found them, ladies and gentlemen. And they are lying down as lions do this time of day. They do not look like they've had too much to eat. And as we arrived, at least 3 of them had their heads up. And we're looking in any direction they possibly could. And they are definitely in a good position to hunt anything that might walk past. And I'm sure if anything does stir or move anywhere nearby, we'll see some activity from these lions, because it's not very hot. It's only 29 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, so a relatively cool afternoon for this time of year in Djuma. And Djuma, for those of you who do not know what it means, is actually the word for the roar of the lion. Djuma. And we have some lions with us. A little bit early in the day for them to be calling, but wouldn't that be marvelous to see a pride of lions calling out their territory? So as Taylor has told you, the brown ivory pride, the Nkuhumas, that is the individual that we saw, luckily, as we were driving past. Thanks, Christy. It's an absolute pleasure coming out to find these lions. The individual that Dave was just on there, the one who's just lifted his head, not that one, the one at the back, he was the one that was looking down at us in the river, or she was. And if it wasn't for those ears, we would have driven right past and would have had to start the tracking process all over again. But there's definitely interest in the air. A few of their heads are up, definitely more active than they normally are this time of day, and a lot of that's got to do with temperature. Lions are very aware of their energy requirements. There we go, she's up. Who's that? I'm afraid I'm still learning the faces of these lions. Nick's in FC at the moment is an absolute expert at each and every single one of them. This one closest to us has got a blind right eye, which I think Nikki calls Princess. The one closest to us on the right of the screen. And the one at the back is the one that I think is lactating. Pretty you call her, sorry, Pretty. She is. And the one that stood up is the one I believe that is lactating. There we go. Isn't she beautiful? There's Amber Eyes. Okay, thank you. That is Amber Eyes, the one who doesn't like the cubs very much. The one who is mating on and off with a couple of the Birmingham boys, and there they're reaffirming some bonds. The individual whose head she is rubbing is the one with a very nasty wound on the back left leg or thigh. Hello, Amber Eyes, how are you? She is a magnificently large lioness. If you just compare her in size to the one behind her, she is enormous. She is enormous. And as you can see, the flies are biting. They were giving Taylor a hard time 2 days ago, and they're now giving the Nkuhumas a very hard time. Look at those eyes. Kermie, indeed, your comment about the one lioness having a blind eye, the one that, if you just scan a bit right, David, the one is about to yawn. There we go. Oh, that was too much hard work. I think that right eye of hers is blind, in fact. Yeah, she's got who knows what happened to her eye. Lions run the risk of, whenever they tackle large prey, of getting kicked in the face. So we're with the pride here, and I haven't seen any of the males. Last I heard they were up in Torchwood, not Torchwood, Buffelshoek. So I haven't seen a male in some time, since I was at Buffelshoek with this pride, when Amber Eyes was mating with one of them, or two of them. And that was over a month ago, so I'm not sure where those big boys are. Have you seen them lately, Dave? No. So Debbie, sorry, to answer your question, I haven't seen the boys at all in some time. I haven't even seen two of them together, only one at a time. In fact, I've only seen one of the boys. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Constant allo grooming, allomimetic behavior you find in quite a few animals. And they're cleaning the blood off of the face. If there's any fighting that happens during the kill, afterwards they go and reaffirm their bonds by saying, I will clean the blood off your face, and any ticks you might have, I'll pluck out of your fur with my teeth. Because that's to show absolute love, is it not? Ooh. And also the added benefit of getting a little tasty thing to lick. Internal apathy, it's a very good question. You'd like to know about how do the males select a female if she is an estrus. Now, essentially what happens in a coalition of lions, if a female comes into estrus, the first male amongst the group, it could be 2, 4, 5 males, the first male to covet her, he has the rights. They don't dominate each other in that, but they will fight very hard to be the first one there, but the first one to pick up on a scent and to get close to keeps her, and then just through posturing and through body language and through growling, the others kind of stay away. They might follow for a little while, but because he got there first, they will generally leave alone. But if it's a male from another pride, well, then it is a completely different story. From another coalition, they can potentially fight to the death. But that is more than just over estrus. That is over the rights to the entire pride and to the livelihoods of the youngsters. Okay, folks, so we're going to stay with these Nkuhumas. We're not going to go anywhere just yet. And we're going to go back over to Scott with Tumba and see if anything new has happened.
No major changes. Although I had, for a second, been fooled by a small yellowish-coloured bush high up in a marula tree not far from here, and I thought there could have been another leopard nearby, but it was a false alarm. Did get very excited, though. Are you going to take us for a stroll to the waterhole, Tumba? Please do that. It would be a wonderful thing to do, and I think that is exactly what's happening. Cool. I'll just update the vehicles that are making their way here. Because, yeah, he's definitely going to head down to the Vuyatela Dam for a drink. So we're in for a treat. And at this stage of the day, I'm sure there's a strong chance lots of animals may see him and start alarm calling, possibly monkeys, antelope, squirrels. He's not going to be too fussed about that, though. Stations, Tumba's making his way towards Vuyatela Dam from the kill. So, exciting stuff. And I really thought we may be stationary for quite a while this afternoon before he does anything, but that is the joys of being on safari. The animals often surprise you, sometimes not so pleasantly, and sometimes like this, very pleasantly. Magic. Okay, well, we're going to continue following him, and we'll be sure to call you back. I'm going to try and get in front of him and get some frontal views as he paces towards us. And while we do that, we're going to send you across to Taylor, who is examining a kill of her own. Wow.
We are. Now, there's very few things that can bring down a waterbuck of this size. And this is where the lions came from last night. So I think they caught themselves a sneaky meal. How incredible is that? Now, as most of you know, I absolutely love the smell of carcasses. It's my favorite thing. I wish I had made a perfume out of it. I want to show you how big this is. I'm not going to touch any of the meat. Ah, the flies! Don't go in my mouth, please. This is really heavy, actually. This must weigh about... That is a massive waterbuck, everybody. Herbie? One of the biggest waterbuck, okay, well, that I've seen. Well, not that it's alive anymore, I'm afraid. But it is ginormous. Now, of course, it's still got a bit of its neck and the vertebrae attached to it. But those sets of horns... Let me see if I can rest it properly and compare it. Maybe you can use my body as a comparison. Remember, I'm about 1'7" so I'm about 5'6", or just under 5'7". Quite tall. So there we go. So that kind of comes almost up to my hip. That is an exceptional splay of horns. That is a very, very big waterbuck. And sadly, it was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, but the right place and the right time for the lions. That is incredible. It is so heavy with part of it. I mean, most of its face has actually been pulled apart. That must weigh about 8 or 9 kilograms. Whew. Pretty amazing. What's wrong? Was a flying buzzing around in camera. There are so many flies. No! Get off of me, because I know where you've all been sitting. It's terrible when they start sitting around your face and your nose. It's really not nice. You know what we're going to actually have to do is that I hope the hyenas don't drag this away, because I'd like to come back and fetch this. This is an exceptional skull. Richard, you said it looks like a dragon skull. Possibly it does. So I wonder if we come for a little walk. Let's have a little look around here. There's all bits and pieces. You can even see some of the... Go away, flies. Some of the fur here. I'm going to pick it up with a stick again. I don't really want to touch it with my hands. There we go. Look at that. I don't know if that looks like it's probably just tufts of hair there. It's quite coarse, actually. But again, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to let it go. Ladybird, you're wondering what those horns feel like. Like a horse's hoof. If any of you have horses, or watch your foot thing, there's a big stick. That's exactly what these horns feel like. Pretty much it's just keratin, and there's bony protrusion, or bony sort of parts underneath this. And sometimes what happens is when the carcass gets quite old, you can almost slide these horns straight off. But I think we need to take this back. I think this needs to go into the tent. Really, this is an incredibly large set of horns. And if we examine a little bit further, and you can see how flat it is from all the nkuhumas sitting here, devouring it. You've got a part of the jaw. Looks like the lower part of the jaw, in fact. Little bits over here. And they've actually done a really good job. I don't know if the hyenas have also maybe been in here and finished it up, because it looks like, if you look just there, they've cracked open bones and they've cleaned it out. They've cleaned the bone marrow out completely. So lions have got pretty strong jaws as well, but hyenas are the real ones that can actually crush things open. So I think that the hyenas have been here too. But this is awesome. This is really, really quite great. And the flies will get rid of this. There might be even some carrion beetles that come and take care of the rest. Maybe the vultures have been down here too. There've been plenty of them around. So they could also help pick the carcass clean. Although I think the nkuhumas would have done a pretty good job last night. Lots of mouths to feed, so a waterbuck kill would be a good kill. But again, they would eat it within an hour. No problem. They'd devour that thing very, very quickly. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Well, I'm honestly so surprised to see how big this waterbuck is. I can't believe it, in fact. I may even have to try pose for a photo myself. But speaking of the animals that took down this waterbuck, Steve still got them. I think they're having a bit of a snooze.
Thanks, Taylor. I would love to see those horns. And there goes the tale that animals or lions do not eat waterbuck. It is a fallacy. I have seen lions kill and eat 2 waterbuck at the same time, very hungrily in typical lion fashion. There's that long tail of how the waterbuck secretes that very foul-smelling, musky odor, which is to prevent lions eating them. Absolute nonsense. They will eat whatever they can get. So we have a youngster just in there who was busy clawing the tree. I don't know if you could see him there. He's just coming out into the frame now. And they're starting to wake up. I mean, you can tell it's not that hot. They're in the open, not under the shade. So it's not a very warm afternoon, as I said before. And there she is, the big girl. Donna, I don't know. Your question, you want to know if Amber Eyes has ever had cubs? She probably has. I think she's quite old now. Darby, do you know? Next, you must know about Amber Eyes and her brood. She is on the move. So we might need to move down the drainage system shortly, as soon as the lions start moving. See how they start yawning and clawing? And I think they might start moving, which means we have got a bit of work to do if we want to keep up with them. I'm sure the viewers would know. You've all been following Amber Eyes for many, many years. Please send through your comments to hashtag Safari Live and let me know how many litters of cubs Amber Eyes has mothered. That'd be great to know. Glorious light we're having here, even though it's quite sort of the sun's behind the cloud. It's really nice light. Dave, I think, is enjoying the light, aren't you, Davy? Yeah? It's nice to have lions in the open like this when it's not dark. They're normally flat in the grass at this time of day. Matt, I think you might be right that lions do probably have less ticks than leopards because they're able to groom each other and assist in grooming each other. But they only generally groom the face area. They don't normally groom too much else. Apart from the lioness grooming cubs when they're quite young, I don't think much else happens on the body, but I could be mistaken. And there's absolutely no tolerance to any bird like an oxpecker. They would get swatted and eaten if they tried to land on a lion. And the activity starts. This is always the beginning of movement. And there we go. There goes another one. And I am sure we're going to see the majority of this pride stand up and start moving down into the drainage. The dry river system just below us here. There goes the other adult lioness. And another one. So this is going to be interesting, trying to get down there. But I think we're going to move around and try to catch up with them before we lose them on the other side. So while we do that, we're going to go over to Scott and see his update with Tamba.
So, we are going to have a beautiful, beautiful sighting here. He's coming straight down towards the Vuyatela Dam. And I'm just going to ask Seb to zoom out for a second because there's some Egyptian geese that are about to see him. And it'll be interesting just to his left. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. Have they seen him? I'm not convinced they actually have. Because we definitely would have heard them making an absolute racket had they have seen him. Purple, you'd like to know if Tamba has got any siblings. And nope. I'm not sure if he maybe for a while did have a brother or a sister that may have been killed. But no, he's seen the geese. But no, as far as I'm aware from Tundi's litter when she raised him, it was just him. Oh, now the geese have seen him and we can... Oh, they're not really making much of a racket, so we'll leave them be for the time being. And we are going to just have the most perfect afternoon sunlight in our favor as he comes down towards the waterhole to drink. Now he's trying to use as much cover as possible as he makes his way down here. There is a multitude of antelope in this general area. We're not going to show them to you right now, but you just have to take my word for it. There's a lot of game around here. Please don't drink out of a funny little puddle there. Come and drink out of the nice big puddle over here. Let's take a look. The impala have just started alarming. They are behind us, but there's a few off to our left that have spotted him. Not those ones said further. Yeah. They're all running off. These ones are scared. These actually ones haven't seen him yet. There's others that are more that are alarming further to the left, and that's causing these ones to run. Those are the ones that have spotted him, staring in his direction, letting off their small snorts. Pah, pah. Okay, very good. Now let's... Sorry to flip Seb around from side to side, but he is now taking a drink, where we should have some good views of him. Beautiful. And I'm sure it is wonderful to quench your thirst after snacking on so much kudu. Isn't he beautiful? Matt, you'd like to know if the vultures got any luck with regards to scavenging any bits of the kudu carcass. And I'm not too sure, not that any of us saw, but I'm confident some may have come and snooped around to see if they couldn't get any scraps. I did see quite a lot of their feathers around the sites of the kill, but I'm not sure if that's just from them being perched around in the general area, or if in fact it is from them being down on the ground, squabbling over the scraps. But no, I don't think any of us saw it, but it must be said, and we must remember that even though we are out for 6 hours of the day, there are 24 hours, which means for 18 hours of your average day, we do not know what is going on out here. So there's often missing pieces to the puzzle. Wow. Wonderful, wonderful stuff, and it seems like it's not just this young male leopard who's been on the move. The Nkuhuma's got up and moved a short while, and Steve has just managed to relocate them in a very beautiful area.
Yes, thank you very much, Scotty. Your cat was on the move, and so are our lions. Well, they moved a few yards, just down into the drainage river depression, and they have now laid down again with a little bit more shade from the looming giant leadwood tree. And there we have the smallest member of the Nkuhuma pride, finding a bit of interest in some old elephant dung. Oh, look at him. Or look at her, I mean. How cute is she? The canine, what an interesting name. Hello, good afternoon. You would like to know if elephants get eaten by lions. Well, not normally, but in unnormal conditions. For example, what happened in Savuti in northern Botswana in serious drought. The elephants, they number enormously there, huge amounts of elephant, and they destroyed the area to such a point that a lot of the other herbivore animals, the normal prey item for lion, moved out of the area. And there's well-documented incidences of the prides there numbering up to 40 individuals pulling down lone sub-adult or semi-adult male elephants that had drifted away from the security of a herd. So that happens, and it is quite frightening to see. There's very interesting documentaries on it that you can watch. They even do some behind the scenes on how they managed to film that with infrared. Can you imagine trying to film a pride of 40 lions chasing an elephant with no lights on? I can't imagine. David, how would that be for you, sir? Awesome. Dave thinks it sounds awesome, but I don't think it would have been too cool. Nerve-wracking. I mean, 40 lions surrounding your car and then an elephant running straight into you. The chances are someone is going to get hurt, but luckily with that documentary no one was injured. But that is because the elephants did such destruction to the area that there was no other herbivores in the area. So not something that's normal. But lions have been known to pick off sort of young calves, but at their detriment. It's much easier to kill other animals. A young elephant with its mother and a herd is a very difficult animal to isolate, and lions know that. They wouldn't try unless they are desperate. It is very last resort sort of stuff, that. Hello, Proud Cat Mama again. Well, living in a group, the advantages are quite simple. First of all, lion prides. They are able to pull down much larger prey than they could individually. They're able to flank and ambush. They're able to sort of chase with some animals and then catch with the other animals. So they're able to encircle and trap animals in their grasp. And also, the breeding success of lions is determined by the fact that the females come into estrus at the same time, which allows them to have a number of cubs at the same time, and sort of the reinforcements of the pride can all be regenerated at the same time, because the success rates of cubs in lion prides is quite low. So if you have 6 or 7, then you're probably guaranteed to have 2, maybe 3, maybe only 1 cub survive. But if you only have 1 cub or 3 cubs, the likelihood of more surviving are much less. And another one, obviously, the protection of their territory. The larger the territory, or the better the territory, and the more animals there are, easier it is to defend. So we see that one individual with the injured eye. I'm not sure where she is now, but if she was on her own with that injured eye, she would have a huge disadvantage to surviving. But she can still be useful. She can still do some chasing. She might not be the most efficient stalker. But she's still going to feed, and she's still going to be supported by her sisters. Also, the one with that injury on her back would not have survived, I don't think, if it wasn't for the support of the pride. I once had witnessed a female that had a broken shoulder, completely broken. You could see it was in no good shape at all, couldn't walk on it, it could just limp around. And the dry season came, we had quite a drought, and her sister found her, and her sister had a couple cubs, and there was this little puddle or pond, and impala after impala would come down to this pond, and essentially the stronger of the two lioness killed one after the other impala. One day I sat there and watched her kill 4 impala in the space of about 2.5 hours, and not eat it, just drag it up where her sister was sitting and feeding. And after about 3 weeks to a month, I can't remember exactly, that injured female stood up and walked out as if nothing had happened. A little bit of a limp, but unbelievable how she was able to sort of survive that through that protein. But if she'd done that on her own, I don't think she would have managed. She wasn't able to catch too much. Excuse me, I'm just going to talk on the radio. Evening, Neil. It's just myself here. Animals are lying up in the Mulwati. Best approach would be either Batalia or Mamba and head straight into the river system. Wonderful. Cats are starting to do their ablutions. Quite glad we are upwind from them, because there's some smelly waterbuck smells coming from there. And while we stay here and ensure that we don't get wafts of lion feces, we're going to go over to Taylor for an update.
I really can't wait for the day that we have some form of way of letting you all in on the smells. Because then you'll understand why I was, gagging in the sighting this morning with Tumbo. You'll understand why Steve is happy that he's upwind of the lions. Sometimes it's not so great, and even these mud wallows can really bring up quite a stench at times too, because as the sun bakes down on it, the water gets hotter and hotter. Buffalo come and wallow here, rhinos, elephants, warthogs, all the stinkiest of stinky animals get into this water, and it can smell quite putrid. But we finally arrived at our destination, which is Pan, which is where we are at the moment. And the reason why we've come here is because it's a great dam to do, mud wallow. Pan, seasonal pan, I suppose it dries out, for the animals to drink. And this is where we had Tundi drinking the other afternoon, which was really quite pretty. Now, the last tracks I've had of Tundi headed down Cheetah Cut Line, and then they didn't come out on Gowrie Main at all. So we suspect she may be in Torchwood, perhaps. She may have killed somewhere. and I reckon she's due to come back soon. Also, if Tingana gets on the move, we know he's come from Chitwa. He was found this morning, actually, behind the Chitwa dam wall. I think it was just after a game drive. I'm actually somewhere around there. And then he's missioned all the way towards Torchwood. His route, normally, and I did confirm with Herbie, is that he should come down a road called Pipeline Road, which comes out on Cheetah Cut Line up in this eastern corner of Djuma. So nothing has come to drink at the dam. A couple of elephant tracks, maybe from earlier this morning. But now Herbie's going in this direction. So we're going to see... Woo! Excuse me. Oh, I always get goosebumps after a good old sneeze. Now, Rihanna, you're wondering which is the most successful predator. I'm going to have to go with, it's a close call between hyenas and wild dogs. In terms of hunting, if that's what you're going for, they're going to be the ones that are the sort of most successful. And that's just because of their hunting technique. We were chatting about it this morning because we spent some incredible time with most of the Djuma clan. Now, Herbie has just come around. He said to us, he just checked a little bit further up. It's quite sandy. He said, no, let's come this way around. Let's go back down Drakensberg, sort of back towards Central where we had Tundi and she had that impala kill. So you can see, look at how sandy the road is here. I mean, watch when I take a step. You can quite easily see my shoe print really clearly here. And, well, if a leopard goes on and walks around here, we're most certainly going to see it fairly easily. And we know that Tundi's not afraid to move around during the day, especially if she's going to be moving with her cub. She'll be utilizing the heat of the day when most of the predators will be relaxing. She doesn't want to be caught out in the open with a young cub and potentially have hyenas hassle her, or another leopard, pride lions, wild dogs, baboons even. So she'll try and move around when she's got the least risk of anybody catching her and her little one. But she's been gone for a few days, so we're hoping that she is going to make her way back this side. Hopefully she has just popped into Torchwood and she'll come around here. But we're going to double check anyways, because I don't think anyone drove down here this morning. But Tumba's very thirsty on this hot day, belly filled with kudu. And let's go and see if he's got any water trickling down his chin.
Well, good call, Taylor, because that's exactly what's happening. There is some water dripping down his chin, and I think he has possibly just finished quenching his thirst. Yep, it looks like it has, but he has been here for quite some time, and wouldn't it be wonderful to know how much he actually drank? Hard to tell how much water goes into their mouth each time their tongue laps the water. I don't think it's a huge amount. Oh, he's now negotiating. Oh, you want some more? Negotiating some quite muddy turf below him there. And I know Taylor was just discussing with you guys how she would like you guys to be able to smell lion poop and how horrific it is. And this guy's poop is also going to be something quite special after the... Has he got a wound on his back left leg there, kind of midway down? Interesting. That's a little bit of a fresh cut then. I'm wondering if it's not from his struggle with the kudu. Could well have been a stray hoof. Anyway, as I was saying, this guy's poop is going to be an absolute treat after all of the kudu and this fairly stagnant water that he's been drinking. Now, what's further interesting, and what I'd like to try and show you guys, is that there's some monkeys that have been alarm calling at him, and they sound quite far away. I can't see them for now. I'm trying to work out where they are, and then we can show you how far away a monkey can actually spot a leopard from. His belly is looking quite impressive from this angle. I can't see where the monkeys are, but they are far. I mean, I can hardly hear their calls. Such a pity I can't see them, because it would be really nice to be able to show you how far they can, in fact, spot predators from. Okay, very good. We're going to need to catch up with them again. And he disappeared there quite quickly. Well, not really disappeared, but want to try and make the most of showing you as many shots as I can of him while he is on the move. Gustav, you would like to know, from what age will leopards start mating? Oh, a bit bouncy here. It all depends on the individual, but usually at around kind of 4 to 5 years of age would be the beginning of when a male leopard is old enough to start mating, and for the females it'll be about 3 years of age. But again, there's no set rules, and just like us as humans, you sometimes get a few surprises, and the same thing can happen with leopards and lions and all the animals that roam the African wilderness. Excuse me, guys. Oh, it's just popped out in front of us, but I want to get a decent loop ahead of him. I don't want to give a short view. I want to get far ahead and then have a long period where Seb can do his business. I think this will do. Nina, you'd like to know if leopards lose their fur as they age. And, not that I've noticed. I mean, I guess when they get very, very old, yes, of course, then they could well start losing some fur. But I haven't noticed them balding, so to speak. What can you smell on the ground there? What's caught your attention? Kestrel fox, you've mentioned how it looks like he's stuffed himself, and yes, it certainly appears like he's been inflated like a beach ball. How cool is this? Coming straight past the vehicle, just meters from us. Absolutely awesome. Very, very wonderful. Okay, well, we're going to need to loop ahead of him again, and while we get into another good spot, we are going to be sending you across to Steve.
Thanks, Scotty. Has Tumba drained Vuyatela Dam? Do we need to go have another look at the levels after yesterday? Seemed like he was quite a thirsty boy, but no doubt he was up that tree all night with those hyenas lurking at the base. So these lions have all stood up and had a little bit of a toilet stop, and now they're all lounging in the shade of this beautiful leadwood tree. And this is the typical lion fashion that we expect. And this is what you normally find in the afternoon before the animals start moving and before the darkness descends on the African sky. And look at that little one. It's grown. Okay. Thank you, Bill. Bill apparently says that he knows that Amber Eyes has only ever had one cub or one litter, and it didn't survive. So I've heard stories from the other guides that she hasn't been a very good mother and doesn't really like cubs, which is quite strange. Quite strange. But that little one over there in the road has done very, very well from the last time I saw it. It's definitely grown a little bit. Thanks, Karen, your update that we know that she has denned, but no one's ever seen the cubs. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what happens, eh? Who knows what happens with these lions? But I haven't heard anything, and I'm sure Tristan might know something when he gets back. But I know that a lot of you viewers out there watch the show very closely, so I trust your knowledge. Isn't that little one so cute? He's still a little bit scrawny, but it's looking a lot better than the first time I saw it. Yes, Susan, he's looking much better. She's looking in much better condition. Still a little bit bony on the hips, but the other night we went out on a staff drive after dinner, and we found the Nkuhumas with an impala, well, the remains of an impala, and that little one was covered in blood. It definitely got its lion's share of the meal during that evening, and it will have to work very hard to compete with all of these other youngsters if it wants to survive. But that is the way it works, the survival of the fittest. You need to be strong enough to survive, and if you're not, well, then that is it, unfortunately. Coast Cider wants to know if lions pounce like house cats, and I have seen them do a similar sort of pounce. They are very able to stalk and jump and pounce in the grass, but they're nowhere near as comical as house cats or leopards or serval for that matter. But I have seen them pounce in the grass, but I've never seen them catch anything through their pouncing. So there's some oxpeckers calling off to the left, and a couple of these animals, as the one in picture, has got their heads up. They're interested as to whatever could be there, because you know oxpeckers are a good indication of some mammal, some tick-borne mammal, and there could be something trying to meander through the bushes there. But the wind has now changed, and we are getting the scent of lion in our nostrils, and that scent is blowing directly towards where I hear the oxpeckers coming from. So any alert and aware impala or wildebeest / buffalo would be very understanding of the smell in the air. Oh, hang on, watch this little one. He was about to pounce. The little one was about to pounce on its sibling. Let's see if it does. Zach and Steve want to know at what age do male lions leave the pride. And that all depends on whether the dominant males get ousted. The dominant males don't get ousted. Those males can stay up until about 4, but normally at about between 2.5 and 3, the males get chased away because they start. There we go. Watch the pounce. So often you'll see pouncing happen more in play than in actual hunting, but it is actually practice for hunting. Anything that these cubs do as a form of play is building up their techniques for what is to come in the real life. The cub just had a little cough there, but nothing major. It's much better than it was last time. But so to continue on there, male lions generally between the age of 2.5 and 3.5 will get pushed away from the pride by the males as they are competitors for mating. There we go. That was a proper pounce and a proper kill. Did you see that? The siblings having a good go with each other. Very important to play. There we go. And he's not done. Come here for a cuddle. Isn't that wonderful? Lovely embrace of your younger brother or sister. So at that age they get pushed away. And to go back onto the comment of before of why do they hang out in prides, or what's the benefit? So through the communal breeding, when the females breed at the same time, if you get a number of youngsters, the ratio is normally about 50 to 50. So you could actually in a pride get 3, 4, maybe 5. I've seen 9 young males in a pride of about the same age. So when they get pushed out, they will almost undoubtedly form a coalition, and they will then move into an area and be able to reproductively take over a pride much sooner than if they were on their own. You might have heard a vehicle there. We do have a landowner that's come to see these wonderful lions as well. So I hope that answers your question. So one male moving away from pride will run and run and run for years until he's old enough and big enough and strong enough to defend females and to mate on his own. But if youngsters from this pride, for example, if 4 or 5 young males had to leave, their genetics from this pride would dominate another pride much sooner if there were more than one young male than if there was just 1 or 2. So I hope that answers your question. It is not set in stone. In smaller reserves where there's not huge dynamics with the lions, those males will actually stay in the pride and become a coalition with their father, which genetically is not ideal. But on that note, we are going to leave. We're going to watch this little cub a bit longer, and we're going to go over to Scott Dyson for an update with Tamba.
Yes, you're with Scott now, hey? Just call me Scotty D. No, I'm joking, it's me. I bet I got you all. Sorry about that. I can see why Steve got confused, though. I mean, the resemblance, come on, it's uncanny. Right, and of course we're looking at everybody's favourite thing now this afternoon. We have got dung. We've got elephant dung, and the reason why I know it's elephant dung is because the marulas, just over here, kind of give it away, because that's their favourite food at the moment. And then, of course, well, if you look at their dung, there's quite a mixture of things in here. From grasses, you'll find bits of bark, you'll find roots, you'll find other fruits, but it doesn't really look like elephant dung, because it's all scattered and torn apart. So this is thanks to the various birds that have come through here and scraped. So guinea fowls and coqui francolins, crested francolins, the spur fowls, goodness, anything. Even the starlings coming through, having a little look, picking out seeds, getting little insects, beetles, larvae. So this is really, really a hot spot over here. And there's even some ants just down and in here that are making use of all the dung that's sort of dried out now and been moved around into smaller pieces. They're collecting little bits. I don't quite know where their nest is, but they're going into the grass. Oh, actually, there's a trail down there. They've got an ant trail. Check this out. So if you look very carefully, you can see the comparison here, how they've almost treaded it completely flat. So quite a few smaller stones within the sand, and you can see on the pathway it's completely smooth. So this is like a little highway over here for all the ants going along. So let's see if we can find out where that nest is. Oh, it's right here. That was easy. I didn't have to go tracking too far for the ants this afternoon. Here they are, all going in and out and down back to their burrows. Some of them bringing out soil, dropping it off, or not soil, little small rocks. And they've all got their different roles. Some are out collecting. Look, you can see. It doesn't look like they're bringing eggs out. It looks like they are bringing out smaller rocks, walking up, dropping it, coming back down, and doing the same thing again. They're pretty quick and super strong too, considering their size. So they're excavating at the moment. Perhaps they're putting in a new bedroom for the preparation of the new children. I don't really know what's going on down there, but I'm sure there's lots of amazing things. Right, so we're still looking around here. Something else that's quite cool I want to show you, because I know we've got a lot of new viewers, and I bet you all wonder, how do we learn to track? How do we learn to identify tracks? Then how do we learn how to trail the animals? We do sort of tracking exercises, and there's a qualification that you can do through Cyber Tracker, where you'll come out and a very experienced tracker will assess you, and basically they'll circle tracks. It doesn't just have to be an animal track, it can be something like this as well. So if you have a look down on the ground, and we're on the road still, we're just looking for tracks, you can see all this is done by the grass. And what's happened is it's just been blowing. Now, this question, like this with this piece of grass, if they'd circled it and said to you, right, what has happened over here? This would probably be a 1-mark question, because it's pretty easy. You can see that it's the grass. But what they sometimes do, they remove all the grasses away and they'll circle it, just a section of it. They might even rub out other bits, and they'll go, what is that? Now you've got to figure out what on earth has made that track. And that will be for a few more marks. It'll probably be about 2 or 3 marks if you get that right. You don't have to tell the assessor what type of grass did it, as long as you can know it's a piece of grass blowing in the wind. But I'll never forget, I've been tricked, #got tricked before when they do that. Oh, look. Now, Lynn, seeing as though we were looking at ants, and there are a couple of them moving around here, I'm trying to not step on them. You said that you read somewhere that ants never sleep. That honestly would not surprise me. I don't actually know, but they are exceptionally hard workers, and they're just on the go all the time. So we'll have to do a bit of reading. Now, I found this as well. Get off a sec. That was just on the road like this, all this grass. This is probably from an elephant, walking around, pulling up grass like this with its trunk, pulling it out, probably biting it off, maybe not really liking that piece, and then just dropping it down on the ground. So the elephants have been here, and I think this is from the other day. I think this is basically remember when we had Thandi on that Impala kill a few afternoons ago? I think this was from that next morning when we found the hyena lurking around, and they had obviously stolen her kill, just because you can hear it. Very crispy, very dry, not fresh at all. So I'm going to say that this is a few days old, just sitting out over here. Well, there we go. Ants would love that. Termites too. They're going to make use of that. And you can see, look at it, it's all scattered around here. So these ellies were obviously walking along the road. Again, it's nice and open. Perfect for them to walk down here. It's a perfect pathway. And just feeding as they go along. But we're probably going to jump off the road now and head onto an animal pathway and check one of the prominent ones, because we haven't seen any leopard tracks down this road. We're going to go across to Scott, who's not having a look at Tumba, but something that's probably been bothering him for the last few days.
Yes, these hooded vultures, or at least this one, is making the most of the fact that Tumba has not yet returned to the area of the kill. I'm guessing he's taking a snooze somewhere between where we last saw him and the kill. And this is the smallest of the vulture species. They're at the bottom of the vulture pecking order. They've got a very thin beak, and it's luckily found some scraps to feed on, which is wonderful. Not just the hyena that got to cash in on Tumba's hard-earned kill, but also these guys. There's his partner sitting up there. Maybe that one's eaten its full. Doesn't look like it though, because with vultures they can fill their crop with meat, and you can see a kind of bulge below their neck. Christy, you've just mentioned how happy you are that you've managed to see the growth and development of Tumba, who once used to hunt squirrels and now is hunting adult female kudus, and it really was, oh, that was a big mouthful. Well done. Good for you. And yeah, I mean, how lucky are we to be able to share and showcase with you the development and growth of these animals and the incredible success that they have from time to time. I mean, to take down an adult female kudu, again, I cannot reiterate enough how much of an epic battle that must have been. It must have taken him quite some time, and as we saw, he had that kind of wound on his back left leg. That could well have been from a stray hoof. The female kudus don't have horns. Hoodoos don't have corns. I mean, kudus don't have horns. And who knows how many minutes of struggling up and down, backwards and forwards it must have taken before he, in fact, succeeded. Sorry about the cough, guys. I've got a bit of a cough at the moment. Project Alpha. Very happy that you obviously know a little bit more than most about these hooded vultures. You've mentioned how happy you are that you can see them eating some chunks of meat as opposed to just relying on the predator's feces, and they are known to feed on the dung of predators when times are tight. That must take serious guts and determination. Guts, both figuratively and literally. I don't know if that actually made sense, but you know what I'm saying. Oh, he got another chunk. Let's see if he's going to swallow it now that he's got a little bit of distance between us. He's probably worried for his life that every time he puts his head down, the leopard could come out pouncing towards him. Oh, they're doing a good job breaking off little bite-sized pieces. Good manners. I'm quite interested to see, there's quite a large bone here. And we'll scrap that and rather send you across to Steve, whose lions are having a wrestling match.
Yes, after she tried to pounce on her little sister, or big sister, she's now playing with what I think is Mom. I'm not sure, actually. A bit of argy-bargy going on there. Look at those little feet. Aren't they just the cutest? The typical cat grab with the front feet and then claw with the back. Any of you have a cat at home will know that they do that to you sometimes. It can be quite painful and can happen completely randomly. I have bled many a time with my domestic cat clawing my arm just because it suddenly had a mood. Yes. Yes, Sky, she has indeed done very well, and she needs the personality to have survived everything she's done, the disease of the pride that came through, and there are lots of young individuals here that are playing with her, keeping her on her toes. Let's see if we can... There we go. See, now that is just not very nice, is it? Not very nice. Oh, have one of those. Can you imagine being like a 6-year-old and you've got like a whole lot of 15, 16-year-old brothers? That's kind of what's going on with this poor little girl. She has to deal with it though. Joan would like to know about the subadult females. They are born into the pride, and they actually are the next generation of the pride, and they will stay in the pride throughout their life. The older lionesses will eventually die in the pride, and they will be replaced by the successive years of females that come through, but the males will disperse. But in times of drought, or if conditions change, or if food resources decrease, it has been known for prides to split up and half go one way and other half go the other way. It just happens when prides get too big. If they're too successful and there's not too much cub mortality, the pride gets very big, lots of mouths to feed, and so they just go on their own way. It has happened. I've had it at Singita years ago. The mountain pride and the Shirombe pride were once together, and they parted ways purely because too many cubs were born, and the mountain pride at the time had 16 subadult cubs, 9 of which were male. Can you imagine trying to feed that at any given time? It's very hard work. Let's see if we can get around this bush. Gotta get another look at these animals. Shall I try this way, Dave, or how about that way? Mina, it's a very relevant question you ask, if lions like to live in forests or open areas. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Dave to focus in on that cub and to have a look at the feet and all the spots on the body there. Let's have a look at this, and then I'll answer your question more clearly. Can you see the spots sort of on the back legs of that cub? So lions actually evolved from a forest-dwelling cat, probably quite similar to a leopard or a jaguar. It was probably smaller at the time. And then what happened... And Aaron wanted to know, there's some play going on. Are you going to catch it? Oh, no. They are playing, and we are missing it because it's behind the bush. Aaron wanted to know about the spots. So it goes back into exactly what we're talking about how lions evolved from a cat. There, they're coming back. From a cat that was in the forest, and the prey items or animals were quite small. I'm just going to stay here and see what happens. There we go. The pounce. They're back to the pounce. So, Mina, as climate change happened, the continents or the world itself decreased in or the temperature increased. It got drier, and we also got a change in the rainfall. So where we have subtropical areas now, and we have the savannas in Africa, used to be very, very tropical forest. And those forests were inundated with small sort of herbivore mammals and then sort of relatively small predators. There's another stalk about to happen towards the right there, Davey. Can you see it? It's about to come. Sorry that I'm changing what I'm saying, but there's a stalk about to emerge out of the grass. Are you ready for it? I think she's lost interest. But so as climate change happened, the forests receded and were replaced by savanna. And with savanna came huge areas of grass, And now the grass allowed for much larger herbivore animals, and herd animals at that. And so what happened is those animals moved out of the forest. They evolved to get bigger. They evolved to be more bulk grazer type, and they also evolved to have bigger herds. And then so the predator naturally also moved out of the forest into the savannas, and they could only get so big without becoming cumbersome and without becoming just an unnatural sort of individual, and then formed what we call prides. And so those spots that you see on the cubs are evidence of their origins and evidence of, oh, hello, that's a beautiful takedown, a pounce at its best. It's all very important learning tools. That's how they would need to take down an impala or another animal of a similar sort of size. There's a lot of power in that takedown. It's obviously play now, but you never jump into a boxing ring with Mike Tyson without hitting a boxing bag at least a couple of times. You need the techniques, and you need the skill, and you need the strength. So I hope that answers the question about, do lions enjoy open areas versus forest? Forests actually provide very little herbivore numbers. The savannas offer 200 times more the number of animals. 200 times is a huge amount. So the feeding that the lions are able to have is what's enabled them to get bigger and to form prides. Obviously, we spoke about the need for groups earlier, but there's 200 times more animal in the open areas than there were in the forests, and that's got to do with the resource. The grass is very abundant. It's the most abundant vegetation type on the planet, and even us humans are very, very reliant on it for our survival these days, and so are the majority of the animals in the African continent. The canine, there seems to be a topic today about what eats what, and you'd like to know what would eat a lion. Naturally, not many things would eat a lion, but hyenas I have seen eat a lion after one was killed by 5 males. One male lion was killed, and the next morning we found just the head, and the rest of it was gone. So we didn't see the hyenas, but the tracks were there, and that lion was completely dispatched by those hyenas. We have seen male lions eat cubs after they kill them. They don't always eat them. What else eats a lion? Suppose a leopard might eat a lion cub from time to time, and there is stories of a pride of lions called the mapocho that are very well... Whoa, hello! Sorry, there was another stork. They're getting very feisty, these cubs. There was the males, the mapocho, they were around Londolozi, Singita area in the Sabi sands a few years ago, very renowned pride, and they used to kill females and eat them. I don't know, very strange behavior. There's not too much of it mentioned elsewhere, but maybe I'll have another look in my animal behavior book, which I didn't bring with me this afternoon, but I'll have a look and see what else might eat them. But they are essentially the apex predator in this environment, and they eat everything that they can get their mouths around. You see some of the battle scars on the face. Okay, we're going to go over to Taylor this time, not Scott, Taylor this time, and she is still on foot. See what she has for you.
I'm having a good chuckle, I must tell you, because Herbie's just said to me, he's very upset. He's had the crossest face I've ever seen Herbie have. And you know Herbie, he's always got the biggest smile ever. So I said, what's wrong? And he says, no, these elephants are eating all the marulas and I want some. Anyways, speaking of elephants, have a look what we've got here. This is some elephant dung. It's really old, and you can see it's been compacted, obviously, by cars driving over the top of it. But I wonder what's going to lay underneath it, because as you can see, you see I can sort of move it. I'm quite intrigued, actually. I don't want to break it. Ah, termites! Come have a look. That's really cool. Look at all of them. So they're living in here, slowly, decomposing it. That's so amazing. So I suppose even when a car drives over here, they have got a bit of protection and they're quite small. So I don't think they'd be getting squashed But that's amazing. Now, I've obviously disturbed them here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back down now and let them carry on. Oh, sorry, I'm breaking your home. Let me slide it back into place. There we go. Now, I'm going to borrow a little bit of their home, because guess what I haven't done since I've been back in South Africa? It's windy. Need to stand here. Oh, Nikki hasn't seen me do this yet. So Nikki says she doesn't know, but she's seen me with fire now. She's nervous. Don't worry, I'm not going to burn the Sabi sand down. But if you take really dry elephant dung, it's quite flammable. Let me do it here for you. I'm not going to be like Steph and make a spark. I'm doing it the cheating way again. The bush shortcuts, just use a lighter. And you can see it starts to burn and it smolders. This is honestly the best insect repellent out. I reckon if you took a bit of wild mint that would be growing around, or if you had any mint in your garden, and dried it out too, and added it to this, it would be quite nice too. Mint's really good for burning and keeping away mosquitoes, so is lemongrass. But, of course, elephants eating a variety of different things out in the bush. I'm pretty sure a lot of the different plants that they're feeding on have some kind of insect repellent to them too. So this is what I would use in Zambia to help keep away the tsetse flies, which were an absolute nuisance, and they just bite straight through your clothes. So that's quite nice. And it smells so nice. Every dung that you burn, it smells different. Now, I'm not worried about touching herbivore dung. I think we were talking about that earlier, in fact. It's just grass and vegetation, all sorts of other things. It's so nice. I absolutely love the smell of elephant dung. Now, speaking of dung and feces, I'm going to put this out now so that I don't burn the Sabi sand down. Steve, you were wondering if there are any animals out here that actually bury their dung so that predators can't pick up on them. Well, the one jumps to mind first off is probably the steenbok. There's a number of different reasons as to why they bury their dung, but one of them is, of course, to conceal it, the scent from predators. So with Duiker and steenbok, it can be quite difficult to tell the difference between their dung, and hopefully we get to see some. Duiker have got also tiny little pellets, just like the steenbok. You'll see them defecating anywhere, really. And then with the steenbok, you'll often see their dung, not necessarily completely covered, but you'll see them, they basically see little hoof marks, and the dung will be sort of spread out and got quite a bit of sand over it. So they do that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't think of who else does that. And you get things like baboons and jackals that like defecate on top of things. They do the complete opposite. They're advertising that they're in the area. But we're still looking for some sign of Thandi, but nothing just yet. So we're wondering if she's even on the property. Not looking too good just yet. We've always got tomorrow morning to try. Steve, of course, has got those very playful lions. Let's go and watch them in the golden light.
Thank you. We've got a free-for-all here, ladies and gentlemen. These youngsters are up and down, chasing each other. They are stalking. They are jumping on each other. They are smashing each other to the ground. It is such wonderful interaction to watch. There they go running again. And the cub, the youngster, is in the absolute thick of things. Oh, it's so funny to watch. And the adults are lying down very flat. Let the children play, get their energy out before the evening hunt, potentially. Because that's one thing I've noticed with lions, is when they're hunting, the youngsters get quite playful while the adults are hunting, and often ruin the hunt altogether. Louis' comment, and now listen to this, he says the cub gives the pride lots of purpose. Thanks, Louis, that's a very relevant comment, and indeed it does. I hope it manages to make it another couple of years. Another 3-4 months, if it keeps going, I think it will do quite well. But these are the hard times, but we are in a very good sort of season. There's a lot of animals around, and it's a very successful and hard-working pride. So I have no doubt that youngster's going to do well. Alfie, no white lions here. The white lions that occur naturally in the wilderness have occurred in the Kruger Park, sort of in the Singita concession, sort of in the east, or in the Timavati as well. That's where the white lion genetic pool kind of sits, but there's been no talk that I know of a white lion in the Sabi sands. But they could always pop up. It is one of those genes that could pop up in the generation or in the genetics. Here comes another stalk. Look at this. Go. Oh, got you off guard. This is so much more fun than just watching flat cats. Grace Ann would like to play. I promise you, Grace Ann, if you came and played, you would end up with a lot of bleeding lacerations on your body. As much fun as this looks like, there is a seriousness to it which I don't think the human skin could tolerate. The claws are sharp and the teeth, and they don't bite hard, but when lions fight over food, it is a very physical contest. So playing quite rough and tumbly is very normal to them. And it's very important to them as well to push a little bit harder. But I suppose it's the same as youngsters. We always end up with scraped knees and bloodied noses. It's pretty much par with the course. Why, look at that. The cub is in the thick of it. The cub is waiting for one of the others to jump one, and then it comes in as a reinforcement, as if he or she instigated the initial charge. It's very important sort of behavior for lions, because when they are hunting, they will follow each other's sort of intention, like that. Boom. You see that takedown? That is exactly what they need to do against animals to avoid being hurt by horns or by tusks, such as with buffalo or warthog. You need to grab the animal on the backside and sort of throw its hips on the floor like a wrestler would do. And what that youngster is learning is it's watching the intention of another lioness or another youngster, and as it runs in for the takedown, it comes in at a slightly different angle to assist, even though it doesn't have the body weight yet to do so. One day, when it is an adult, that kind of behavior will be very important in neutralizing a large animal before it's able to retaliate. Christy, you want to know when their markings start to fade? There's probably about between a year and a half, but the markings are always there. I mean, if we look on the adult lionesses that are on our right here lying down on the back hips, just above my shoulder there, you can actually see on the hips of that individual there, just on the inside of her thigh, there are still markings. You see that just on the inside of the leg? There's still spots there, but it's not as prevalent as on the youngster. So they will forever have them, but it just fades and slightly goes more into that sort of tawny color. I suppose that the youngsters have more spots to assist in more camouflage when they are much younger, but it is a remnant of a time long ago when they were forest-dwelling cats like leopard and jaguar. Absolutely marvelous. So I love that when lions are this active. And I haven't spent time with lions like this in such a long time. And David was saying the same thing. I mean, I think the last time I saw these lions, apart from this morning, briefly on foot, was when they were playing with those two tortoises out at Sandy Patch. Here comes another one. Boom! Oi! And off he goes. You see how the cub was in there? It can't help but get caught up in the action. Let me just go forward an inch. We don't miss the bay in the river there. Like the annoying sister, you say, Nix, yes. That's constantly trying. I'm not going to go any further forward because there are two landmines just in front of my wheel that I do not want to be picking up and taking home with me, because they will follow us for the next few days if we do. Did you see that landmine? Janet, it's the youngest female of the Nkuhuma Pride. I'm trying to find her here for you. Is it this one with the... Yeah, there she is. I think that's her. The one we just looked at with the evident nipple. I think that is her. I could be mistaken. but you can see that there's a raised nipple there, showing that she's been suckling. And there's the crazy eyes. Ooh. Biting flies. There's something in the grass there. Now, that is Amber Eyes that stood up. That is not the mother, but the mother is one of these females here. Not these three that I can see, but when we look at her belly, she'll have quite good evidence of suckling on sort of black dark nipples or teats that the cub would have been suckling on, and Amber Eyes always seems to have them, but yet she's not lactating or pregnant in any way, and something bit her on the bottom there and really annoyed her. Okay, so we have got our lions, and we're probably going to stay here for a little while longer. While we do so, let's go to Scott and see if he's managed to relocate on that cat of his.
Yes, with a bit of help with one of the other vehicles that's out on safari, they actually found him coming back to the kill just after we had left, and apparently he kind of looked up at the kill, just made sure everything was okay, and then came and lay down where he is in the shade, not too far away, probably 30 or 40 feet away from the kill. And it looks like it's not just Amber Eyes, but also this youngster that's having some trouble with the biting flies. Let's hope they don't turn on us as well, because they're a nuisance, those little guys. Thankfully, at least their bite only hurts as and when they are sucking your blood from you. They don't leave an irritation like a mosquito would, or like the tsetse flies do. So it's just an immediate kind of bothering. Susan, you just asked if we get, I think it's Tutsi flies. And I think by Tutsi, P-U-T-Z-I, Putsi flies. I've never heard of a Putsi fly. It's not to say they don't occur here. I've never heard that name in my life. And, okay, it's apparently also known as a mango fly. And, no, I haven't had any trouble with mango flies. Are those the flies that lay their eggs on wet laundry? And then you get mango worms, possibly. I think that rings a bell. Oof, yeah, apparently they lay their eggs under your skin. And Seb says his dogs have had mango worms before, so they obviously do occur here, but I haven't heard of, other than Seb's little story now, I haven't really heard of them being much of an issue, but maybe that's just because I'm not too clued into flies and the trouble they cause people. But obviously they're not widespread, otherwise naturally I would have heard one or two more tales about them. Shame, look at that belly of his. He cannot be comfortable. Whew. That, together with the flies bothering him, he's got himself into a little bit of a state. Excuse me, everyone. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough at the moment. If any of you have just jumped on board. Hey, boy. How's that belly feeling? Swollen like a beach ball. Now, it's going to be interesting to see when the hyena come back onto the scene. Any time from now, I think they could possibly be popping into the scene, and it seems like our resident fly expert, Taylor McCurdy, knows something more about the Putsi fly, so why don't you go and see what she has to say about them.
Before we even get into that, look at Herbie, look how he's smiling now from ear to ear because he's got his marulas, the elephants. Oh, that's a good one, Herbie. Wait, I also want one. Did you see all that? Would look beautiful. That just needs to be in the freezer and it'd be like an ice cold cool drink. No, Herbie, now you've made me jealous. How did you find that good one? You've got a good eye, not just for tracking and spotting animals. Ah, I see. So sweet, eh? What a gentleman. Cheers, Herbie. Now we eat it. That was a perfect one. It wasn't too sour either. There's no ladylike way to eat a marula. You're exempt. That was so good. A little shot of vitamin C there. Quench the thirst. Now, speaking of putsy flies, as Herbie collects all his marulas, Susan, you've actually asking about the putsy flies. I don't know if we get them in South Africa. I've never experienced putsy flies on any of the game reserves I've worked in South Africa, but when I was working in Zambia, it was a real problem. So typically, wait, I'm dropping my more dung. I'm going to tell you about that just now. But in Zambia, what would happen, so the putsy fly, or the mango fly is another name for them, we would call them putsy flies though, is that they lay their eggs in damp clothing that's hanging up on a washing line. And then, though, if you put, say, your underwear on, a t-shirt, they'll typically bore into your skin, and then you sort of get a big, keep dropping it, and then you get a big sore, and that's where the larvae sort of living inside. So the only way to get rid of all those eggs, because you can't stop the flies from laying their eggs in there, is to make sure that you iron the clothing, put it into a tumble dryer. Ironing probably works best, and then you end up killing them. You're not going to die from them. It's just a bit of a nuisance. Some people say you put a bit of Vaseline over the top if you do have a putsy fly. That suffocates them, and then you should be able to squeeze it out. It's quite gross and disgusting. I think I would probably just go to the doctor and get them to sort that all out. That's like one of my biggest fears, that. And my mom used to traumatize me. I suppose it's payback for all the things that I've done to her. And that's, she said, spiders are going to lay eggs in your ears or under your skin. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking of things like that. So I don't think we get putsy flies down here. Otherwise, we've just been very lucky to, of course, not experience any. Now, I forgot to bring my ash. I don't even have an ash bag. I have an eyedropper that I fill with ash and actually squeeze it and use it to be able to tell the direction of the wind. But I've forgotten mine. So what I must remember to do this evening is empty my pockets, because I've put lots of scrub hair dung in my pockets to use every now and then. And because we've moved to a new area, I just want to see, it's very fine. The wind seems to be coming sort of northeast, blowing down towards the southwest. That's okay, because we're going to be walking up that way now. And Tom, we'll just jump back on the road because the grass is a bit long and I'm going to get itchy. You're wondering if there's any updates on Shadow. Sadly not. I haven't seen or heard anything about Shadow. Everybody's, of course, asking this question, but I just don't know where she is. There is a lot of pressure at the moment. Also, I just figured out that the Shadulu female, figured this out last night. One of my friends told me, I don't know why I didn't know that she finally got a name. That's the young Ingrid Dam female. Pretty cool, because I was going, I've never seen Shadulu. I have. I totally have seen that leopard twice, I think. So that's quite nice. So she's around. We've got the young males, Tamba, Hosana, roaming about. Tandi's here with her cub. There was another female, the Sibuyu female, that pops up every now and then. So there's lots and lots of pressure at the moment. Maybe she's trying to keep herself and her cub concealed from Hukumuri. He's moving around. It's very hard to tell. Looks like the African harrier hawk and something else flying just off into the distance. I don't really know what they were, but I could just hear them calling. But anyways, we're going to head up Cheetah Cut Line now, because this is where I had the last of Tandi's tracks, and hopefully we'll pick up on something exciting. The road's also nice and sandy, so fingers crossed. I'm going to send you back across to Steve, who's having a fantastic afternoon.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I hope you managed to find tracks of that beautiful leopardess. It's been a few days now. How do we all survive without seeing her every day? These cubs are having an absolute blast. There's lots of energy in them. I think they're getting a little bit restless. They'd like to start moving, and they start playing with each other. Really enjoying the couch grass that's lying on. Synodon dactylon, very common grass that occurs along the river streams and basins in these areas. It helps to bind the grass and forms a very nice carpet to lie on, as you can see. Hello to Leanne, aged 5. I hope you're having a wonderful safari with us. You would like to know if the daddy lions are going to help the mommy lions with the cub. And no, to Leanne, the daddy lions are patrolling around the area, making sure no other big male lions come in. But they don't really help with the youngsters at all. They just protect them from other males, but they don't help to bring them up or to help them to catch food. That is the job of the females. I hope that answers your question. You have a pride of lions that's made up of all of the mommies and sisters and grannies, and then their babies, be it boy or girl. The girls will stay in the pride for their whole life, and the young males will eventually be pushed out to go and find a pride of their own. So I found another use for elephant dung, and a little cub just to the left, Dave, that little one, was busy playing again with the ball of elephant dung. So it is another toy out here in the African wilderness, not just an ecological role, it also serves a purpose to maybe conserve some of our tortoises, because as we know, this pride is renowned for catching tortoises and breaking open their shell, which we saw in my first week here, which I didn't think they had the jaw power to do. But the resilience of a number of youngsters eventually paid off, and it's happening again. Boom! That was a proper takedown. That is called the body slam. Nick in FC is laughing because this is very cute. You don't get to see this kind of behavior all the time. So that kind of behavior you just saw there is instrumental when it comes to fighting. When a male or female fights another male or female, you saw how it was sort of jumped on its back legs. Look at that. That is how they fight. They jump up on their back legs and they use their front legs and the power to knock the other animal down. And if they can put it on its back, that animal becomes vulnerable. And if they're vulnerable, they potentially will lose. So they need to get good at that. They need to be very physically strong at jumping on their back legs and still having the power to unleash those blows with their big right and left paw. And another one has come to join them on the couch grass. I'm sure you are all getting wonderful screenshots out there. Definitely, Cindy, one of the subadults is a male. All of these here that I'm looking at seem to be female, but there's one that was sitting right next to me a moment ago. He's moved. Oi! Let's keep watching these guys. There is at least one male here. I haven't spent enough time with this pride to identify the sexes. Those two playing are both female. The youngest is a female. And these three that were lying on the couch grass appear also to be female. So quite a skewed sex ratio when it comes to what the normality is in lion prides, where they reckon, oh, that was not very nice. Can you see how the cub's ears are flat? It's having enough now. The older sisters are playing a little bit rough. Shame. And it gave a bit of a warning shout, as we do when we're younger. We eventually throw a little bit of a tantrum and say we've had enough. But that doesn't normally work. Didn't work with my brother anyway. Just instigated him to do even more. Fond memories, Brother Greg. Very fond memories. Don't worry, he apologized years later. Oh, there they go again. That little cub is always keen to come in as number 2. That was fantastic. Did you see, even its small size, when the other lioness the youngster was off balance because of the one that was tackling it, it was able to hit it on the side and it managed to fall on the ground. And that is a very important aspect of lion dynamics. If it's able to get an animal on the ground, then it obviously takes away a lot of the defensive maneuvers that an animal might have. Buffalo are very, very dangerous when they're on their feet because of the power of their neck and their horns. But as soon as they're on the ground, they're not able to turn and use the power of those horns to damage the lion. So it's important to work on that takedown, and that youngster is practicing with the best of them, or with all the youngsters. They're all learning. Oh, just a scratch behind the ear. That is where the ticks are the worst, it seems, with lions. That is also a female for sure that walked off, and it looks as if these two here are female as well. So those of you out there who know these lions well, maybe you can comment and just confirm with me that there's only one young male in the pride. And we're going to stay here. These cats are doing way too much for us to move off, and who knows what could happen. But while we do that, let's go over to Scott for an update with his flat leopard.
Well, epic stuff over there with Stephen. Very happy that the Nkuhuma Pride have got a bit of a spring in their step. Quite early on in the evening today, in this beautiful golden light. I'm not sure if it's filtering down into the Mulwati where you were spending time with Seb. As you can see, Tumba is still just dealing with his very bloated belly, and he's actually come down closer to our vehicle and lay down right beside us. But with that big belly, I don't think we're going to be witnessing the playfulness like you're seeing with old Steve and the Nkuhumas. DB, you'd like to know if animals can suffer from malaria. Not that I'm aware of, but we can, and there's actually a recent spread of malaria in this general area. There's a town to the north of us called Hoedspruit where there's getting a few cases. Seb, who I'm teamed up with on camera today, had malaria not too long ago. Actually, on the 1st of January, he realized he had it. Not the best welcome into the new year. Sporting a headache after the celebrations the night before. Plus malaria, that's a bit of a combo deal. So, let's hope it doesn't continue to spread. It's a seriously nasty thing to catch. I've had it before. Nearly crippled me. Debbie, you'd like to know if there's anything in the wild that I can take for my cough. And I'm sure there are a few kind of traditional medicines that you could try and take. The Bushman's Fever Tea is a good kind of all-round booster if you're not feeling well. But in my opinion, and I don't want to be a party pooper, but to be honest, a lot of the medicinal uses you hear of obviously aren't that effective. Otherwise, they would be on the shelves of pharmacies around the world. So even though they may be used by the local people or were used by the local people many, many years ago, you probably find most of the local people are using more modern medicine in this day and age. And I think, like I said, anything that's actually going to work very well would be available in pharmacies. So I don't think it would make sense to start eating bushes and berries and roots when we've got far more sophisticated medicine available to us. So those are my thoughts on that. It's something I've been thinking about quite a bit, because very often guides will say all the medicinal uses of various trees, but again, I'm not convinced as to how well they work. That's my take on that. I remember early on in my guiding career, I was snorting ground up knobthorn to help with a runny nose. That was a bloody terrible idea. Mario, you'd like to know about the tree that Tamba's just hoisted the kill up into, and would it be able to hold the weights of a bigger male? Yes, I think it would. Depending on the individual tree. I mean, the initial tree that he was in was a weeping wattle. Those don't have very hard wood, but the second tree that he's hoisted it up now, even though it's got thinner branches, it's a much harder wood. So it'll provide more support than the wattle. But yeah, I think both of the trees that he went up, Hukamuri would have easily been able to get up there. And even if he wasn't very comfortable or the bushes or the branches were bending and buckling, he would have no trouble getting up, getting the kill, and then maybe bringing it down once he's done that. And yeah, even the biggest of leopards can kind of creep up onto quite small bushes as and when they need to. You can see the sun is slowly dipping, and soon it will dip behind the western horizon. Wonderful. Paula, you'd like to know if a leopard falls from a tree, will it fall like a house cat? Yes, as a general rule it would, but early on, this guy tried to jump up a tree with a kill, and with the momentum of his back legs and his big belly, it kind of pulled his bottom underneath him, and he fell flat on his back. So there's no set rules, but yeah, as a general rule, yes, they will fall on their feet. I haven't seen leopards falling out of trees very often, though. That must be said. So they tend to try and avoid that. Hello, Tucker, just 5 years old. You'd like to know if I think poor old Djuma may end up throwing up this evening because he's eaten too much. And I don't think so. I've never seen any of the big cats throwing up because of that. The only thing they will throw up is fur balls that they regurgitate and then cough out. So that we might see them doing, but no, I've never seen any of the big cats do that. Maybe if they were got into a big fight or something scared them, maybe then they would. I know snakes do that quite often. If snakes are under stress, they'll just regurgitate their entire meal. They have to eat their food in one big piece. So if they kill a mouse, they eat the whole mouse, and therefore if they're in trouble, they can throw it out in one piece as it went in. I haven't noticed it with the big cats. You would think, though, that he might think about doing it, though, because, sheesh, he doesn't look very comfortable, Tucker, as I'm sure you agree, and that's why you asked that question you did. I guess they know how much they can squeeze in, and they also have to kind of bear in mind that, he knows that something dangerous could happen, and he'll be confident that he can get away and move if he needs to. If lions come onto the scene, another leopard, he'll have to run for his life, and even though his belly's full, he'll still be able to hustle if he needs to. Okay, we're going to send you across to, I think, Taylor, with the sunsets.
We've just taken a break from all the smaller things, and we thought that we would appreciate the beautiful sunset that we've got this evening. Not too many clouds, but beautifully silhouetted trees. That's one of the most amazing things. Now, for those of you who have Instagram, you'll notice that I'm on Instagram now, because what I need you all to do is to go in at Safari Live Official, and then you can watch me doing an Insta story on the sunset. So remember to go and do that. Very cool. Add a little filter there, because there we go. Right, so we had a bit of Insta Inception, but Instaception. There we go. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So we actually had some male leopard tracks, funny enough. I don't know if we still have them now. There might be. We just passed them where they came from Torchwood, coming in and out. And it seems like it's actually Hosanna that's at Torchwood Dam. So I made a bit of a mistake, because a couple of people, I think, initially thought it was Tingana, and that's what we got fed. Obviously, we didn't see him, but it's Hosanna, that's that side. So he hasn't moved off since the other morning that he followed the buffalo into it. And I reckon it was his tracks that we saw, coming up and down, zigzagging, marking along cheetah cut line, and then eventually cutting in and going towards Torchwood. So hopefully he comes back this side. But Herbie's trying to find tracks now of young Tandy. Now, here's an interesting question, and it's from Proud Cat Mama. I'm going to walk on the road because I'm very itchy. It's with regards to animals seeing in color, and you said, would leopards benefit from seeing in color? I don't actually know. I mean, I wish I knew what it was like to sort of see in shades of grey and black. Oh, hang on. Oh, wait. Oh! I'm going to come back to that. We're not going to go far. There's a spider hunting wasp. Oh my goodness. This is incredible. The wasp was actually stopped. I don't want to get stung by this because it's not going to be quite nice. We're just keeping our distance. That looks like a baboon spider that it's caught. That is insane. Now, The reason why we also stopped is I think we may have disturbed it. We must be maybe about 5 or 6 meters away from this wasp. So I think it's just watching us. And what it has done, this is insane. This is really such a cool thing to see. This is probably the biggest, I'm going to say tarantula, but I suppose they are in the tarantula family. This is the biggest baboon spider I've seen in comparison to the size of the wasp that's dragging. You can even see the drag marks there just to the side. I was hoping if it continued dragging it, we could go and have a closer look. So what it's done is that spider hunting wasp would have been buzzing around trying to find a spider either on the move or find a burrow. Whether it found it on the move or in a burrow, I'm not too certain. It would have stung it repeatedly, basically paralyzing it. And now it's going to take it to a burrow which the wasp has actually dug, and it will lay an egg into that spider. It's still alive. It just can't move around now. And it will close that burrow up, and essentially it's a live host for the young larvae once it hatches to feast upon. That is a massive wasp. I can't tell you how big they are. And I actually met Coyote Peterson. I don't know if any of you know him, but he sort of did the pain threshold for stings and bites of various animals, and he did a tarantula wasp. It's cleaning itself now, and he said it was one of the most painful things he's ever experienced. So I'm kind of okay with keeping away from it, but let's watch it. This is pretty spectacular. So look, now you can see how big the wasp is. It must be half the size of my hand. It's not a small thing, and look how powerful it is. I think it's looking for a spot, a perfect spot to get it. Yeah, I think so. I think we're gonna maybe do a cool broadcast. So they're just gonna. Okay. There seems to be a new system that's going on. This is quite cool because this is something that you don't get to see every single day. So I think what we'll do is we'll try and stay back, and hopefully it comes back for its prey. No! Come back. There it is. It's back again. Lorena, you said you could see the wasp breathing. I'm trying to have a look on the camera as well because this is quite cool. What is it doing now? Okay, I'm going to hold off speaking. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to one of the creepiest things I bet you've seen all day. But we are live in the Sabi Sandvultain in South Africa, watching a spider hunting wasp drag a baboon spider, which is in the tarantula family. This is pretty amazing to see it. We're going to keep trying to follow it. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I'm on bushwalk today, hoping to show you some really cool things, and that's really one of them. And behind the camera is Senzo. So let's go and try and have a little look. We don't want to get too close to it because we don't want to disturb it too much. But for those of you that have just joined us or never ever seen one of these live Safari Live shows, I'm so happy to have you on Walk With Me. All you have to do, if you'd like to ask me a question as well, just comment away. Let's start with the drag mark. So it's actually gone. What this wasp has done is it's been out searching in all this tall, long grass, trying to find a spider. They do specifically use spiders, and the baboon spiders are the best ones. And it has actually dragged it all the way. I mean, it could have been dragging it for a couple of meters prior to that. Look at that. That's incredible. And now we're going to try and get a better view of the spider, the wasp, dragging the spider without disturbing it. Oh, listen to the wasp. It went showing that it's slightly unhappy with us, so we're just going to keep a little bit further away. Hello, Hugo. It's great to hear from you. If you've got any questions about what's happening here, I'd love to hear from you. But essentially what's going on right now, like I said, it's probably one of the creepiest things you'll ever seen, and its story is kind of alien-like. It's like I said, this wasp has gone around searching for a spider, eventually found one, stung it repeatedly, paralyzed it, and now it's going to drag it to its burrow that it's already dug. This is the wasp, where it will drop it down in the hole and then lay an egg inside that spider. So that spider's not dead. It's basically just asleep now. And it will stay asleep. Every now and then you can actually see this, just the spider sort of twitching just a little bit. So it's going to lay that egg inside there. And as the wasp leaves, it will cover the hole. Once the egg hatches, it's going to have a live host to feed on. So the larvae will completely devour that entire spider. And then it will move on. Now, Alice, you've asked, what is the size of that wasp? I would say it must be between 5 and 7 centimeters in length. It's exceptional. It's a very, very big wasp. While I was up in Kenya, I saw one that must have been about double that size, but everything is massive in Kenya. The wasps down here, I suppose this is as big as they get, and they're almost a metallic blue too in the sun. Now, Michael, you've just asked if that spider is dead. No, it's not. So it's basically just paralyzed. And it will carry on living. It's just not able to move around. You can see the wasp, I think, deciding on its route what it's going to do. Let's see where it's going to go. Look how massive it is. You wouldn't want to be stung by one of these either. I think it would be exceptionally painful. It's just going off. It's coming back. Now it's flying away. I don't know why it's flying away. It's sort of lingering in the area. And we're going to keep our distance, though. Dion, you've asked, how does the wasp find its prey? I'm not actually sure. I would imagine it would be sight, because they hover around quite low to the ground in search of spiders. And I've actually seen a baboon spider running away from a wasp before, and basically it was doing these aerial attacks where it was diving down, landing back on the spider and stinging it repeatedly. Here it comes again. You might be able to hear it. It really sounds like a helicopter coming in. Coming back. Maybe it just flew off to go and see if the burrow is still fine. Now, Michael, your response now to it not being dead and being paralyzed, you said, wow, paralyzed. Nature is so amazing. Nature is incredible. It is honestly one of the most magnificent things. I mean, I tell this story to guests and they honestly think you're lying. They say, no, there's no such thing. But here we are, witnessing it. Now, Senzel's just going to stand up and just stretch his legs. He was in the squat position, which you can imagine would have been quite tiring. Marty, you've asked if it only lays one single egg. As far as I'm aware, I think it is only just one egg in the spider. I do stand under correction, though. I'm sure we get a number of different types of spider hunting wasps out here. This seems to be the most common one. It looks black now, but like I said, as the sun gets onto it, it shines a metallic blue. And then the other type that I've also seen out here is basically they're brown and black in color, and they don't get quite as big as this. They also don't just parasitize spiders. They will go for caterpillars too, but you can imagine a wasp of this size, its larvae is going to need a whole lot before it develops properly. So a caterpillar, unless it's something like an emperor moth caterpillar, is probably not going to be sufficient food. So that's where this baboon spider comes in. And it is a beautiful specimen. We barely even see the spiders alive out in the wild. I'm so sorry, Nikki. Can I please have that again? This is so incredible. Oh, there's a leopard soaring as well. You won't believe what I've just heard. I've just heard a leopard soaring in the distance. Now, we're on bushwalk, like I said. This is incredible. And there can be anything else around here. So not only do we have the spider hunting wasp dragging its, well, not its meal, but its eventually its larvae's meal down into a burrow that it's dug, but we've also got a leopard soaring nearby. Isn't that incredible? So basically what I heard was a sound that sounded something like this. Is what I heard in the far distance. And I'm wondering if it's one of the big males, maybe one of the resident males, Tingana. So that could be another thing that could just pop out of the bushes. It didn't sound too far away. So this is a very exciting time of the night in the bush. The birds are all giving their last calls for the evening before they go to sleep. We're going to get you that crepuscular light as the sun sets, the sort of last light, and that's when the lions, the leopards, the hyenas, all those nocturnal predators are really going to start to get active. And we have been following some male leopard tracks as well. It looked like he was scent marking along this road. So this seems to be a hot spot this afternoon for a variety of different animals. Now, Sandra, you've just asked if a baboon spider is a type of tarantula like you get in Arizona. Yes, I suppose yes. We call them baboon spiders here, and we get lots and lots of different types of species of baboon spiders. They don't get quite big. We don't actually have too many hairy spiders out here in South Africa. Another one that's can give you the heebie-jeebies is the rain spider. They get much larger than the baboon spiders, probably about the size of your hand, including the legs. So the baboon spiders don't get anywhere near the size of the tarantulas. This is incredible. Bobby, you've said forget the leopard, you're still scared of this wasp. I promise you it is. It's like an alien type movie. I'm pretty sure this is where a lot of sci-fi movies get their sort of storyline from, is something as crazy as this. Right, but how incredible. Now, it is getting a little bit dark and we are quite vulnerable on foot, so we're going to have to start heading in the direction of home, and who knows, maybe we're going to bump that leopard on the way. So if you'd like to continue watching Safari Live, all you have to do is pop it into Google and click the search button and you'll find us, and then happy watching, because there's lions, there's leopards, there's all sorts of things happening out on the Sunset Safari. But from myself, Senzo, and Herbie, who's out in the distance as well, and the baboon spider and wasp, we wish you a wonderful afternoon and or a good night, wherever you may be in the world, and we hope to hear from you all soon. How epic was that, everybody? Amazing. I think what we are going to do, though, is because we are running out of light, and obviously we heard this leopard soaring. It sounds like on Buffels, maybe just a bit further east of Buffelshoek Cutline, Cheetah Cutline. We need to actually start making our way back to the car, and I think that this wasp is probably getting agitated with us hanging around, so I wouldn't mind letting it be and dragging it towards its burrow. Hopefully it moves off the road in time before some vehicles come past, although I can't see that you'd be able to drive past a sighting like this. I mean, it's fairly obvious, but this is very, very cool. I can't believe that we heard that leopard soaring from here. I got such a fright. I was mid-sentence and just went, right, I'm stopping talking. I need to listen. That was epic. So cool. Now, I think Herbie has obviously called Scott in and said, pointed him in the direction of where he heard the leopard calling. He's on his way towards Buffelshoek Dam. Let's go see Scott Ferrari safarying.
Woohoo! We are going as quickly as we can to try and get into that area, and exciting stuff. I wonder which leopard could be vocalizing. If it is the Hukumuri male, it'll be a massive development in how far we know that he's pushed east. He's only kind of made his way towards the middle of Djuma from the west, and Buffelshoek Dam's right on the eastern boundary. So it'll be great to know if it is him. Not good news for Tundi and Tingana, Tundi's a leopardess with a young cub that the Hukumuri male kill. He's a new kind of imposter. And while we continue to rush there, our signal's a bit shaky. We'll be there in 5 minutes. We're going to send you back to Steve in the lines. Oi.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You're back with us, and we are still with Nkuma Pride, who have settled down a bit. They are more relaxed and a little bit less playful, but you had a wonderful opportunity to see that spider hunting wasp doing his thing with the baboon spider, which is marvelous to see. Really, really cool. There's some yawning happening, a few members. It's possible in the next few moments, or who knows how long it might take, there might be some movement. The temperature has dropped about 5 to 7, maybe 8 degrees in the last little while. It's a lot cooler down here in this riverbed, and I'm sure the lions know that. There was a duiker that came and nosed his way in here a little while ago, but he ran off very, very quickly. Lauren from Illinois would like to know when the older lionesses will mate again, and essentially after 2 years or so is when they come into breeding readiness. That's the general time frame. What was that? Did I hear a hyena there, or is that my tricks playing on me? Normally after about 2 years or so. So I'd say, I think these cubs are between that sort of age. They're about 15 to 16 months. So there's still a few months to go until these females will come into estrus. That's why Amber Eyes, the only one without any cubs, came into estrus recently. But I don't know. That didn't seem to be the most successful mating sequence that I've ever seen in my life. Ravinda would like to know why predators have black skin around their mouth. That is essentially their lips, where the hair doesn't grow. So I think if you shave the lion down to the skin, their skin is actually quite dark. Skin is very, very dark. But that's a good question. I don't know why it's that color. Just like the inside of their nose as well, it's quite dark. I have no idea. Honestly, anybody else out there, please send through your comments if you have any idea why lions have black skin around their mouth. I can tell you why the black marks on the tail and the ears. It's for communication and following each other through the long grass, especially when they're hunting or when the cubs are following the mothers. Very easy to follow, or to at least see the intention of what the lioness in front is doing, if you can see the angle her head is facing, and when she's facing in a direction, the black marks behind the ear give a very good idea of which animal she's potentially signaling out. And then that can assist in the sound, the soundless communication that these lions have in the hunt, which always amazes me. They always know who to go for. The more experienced lionesses will pick out an injured or weak individual, and then all attention will be blown onto that one. That's a little cheeky slap. So as you come live again with us, they start getting a little bit more boisterous, which is great. They just seem to be settling down. Another purpose for that black tip on the end of the tail is for the young cub to play with. There we go, let me eat that. Project Alpha, thank you very much. That is a beautiful answer, and it is something I should have known, because in birds we have it, but melanin is where the blackness is, and melanin adds toughness to the skin, which makes it very resilient to obviously to claws and to the bones that they feed on. So that's a very good answer, thank you. Whenever you see black birds, the black is the melanin, and the melanin adds strength to the feathers. So it allows it to be much more versatile than a different color. So that is a very good answer. Thank you, Project Alpha. I absolutely love having these live drives where we have an audience out there of people with lots of wonderful information they can share with us. I think we're learning every day. Dave is certainly learning every day. I learned from him, he learns from me, and then we learn from the viewers as well, which is awesome. It's a two-way street. It's one thing I always did enjoy in the past with guests, is that you get guests from all walks of life that come through and all different experiences, and something that's important is to assess the person for who they are, to ask relevant questions. And someone, for example, if you are a guide and you happen to have a botanist on the vehicle or an animal behavioral specialist, then why talk end on end if you can ask that person and engage with them, which is what I think a lot of you enjoy about the show as well, is how engaging it can be. You can ask us questions and we can answer them directly. By me throwing questions to a guest who knows more, it's wonderful because I can learn from them and they feel engaging as well and empowered with their knowledge. So I believe Scott has made it to Buffelshoek Dam. Let's see what update he has for you.
Well, we've just got one quite moody hippo, and I'm hoping he continues to perform as he performed for us when we arrived, opening his mouth, tossing his head around from side to side in the water. No sign of any leopard, though. It's not to say the leopard didn't come here and have a drink or was not in this general area. It was just a guesstimate from Herbie. I'm not sure exactly how far away he was from here, but even if he was at the closest point of Cheetah Cut Line, which, as I know, the road they were on, it's a very long road, even if they were at the closest point to here, it's still about a quarter of a mile, maybe a bit more away. Very difficult to pinpoint exactly where the audio could be coming from. So now, all we can do is sit here and wait patiently. Rather than driving around, we wouldn't be able to hear the leopard vocalize if we were driving. I think it makes more sense to sit here and listen. Len, you would like to know why am I calling Hukumuri the imposter? Maybe it's because I don't even know what an imposter really is. I thought an imposter was something that came into an area that didn't really belong there. And I guess that's the case with Hukumuri. This is Tingana's turf, initially, up until 3 months ago. Early December was when we first started Hukumuri, which means he is imposing himself on Tingana's turf. So, I guess that's my answer to that. You suggest an imposter is actually somebody who pretends to be somebody else to deceive others. So I've been using the word in the incorrect way. Thanks for the English lesson. He's an intruder, I guess, for now. Oh, here goes. Get your screenshots ready. Awesome. Is he going to swing over? Sometimes they kind of do a bit of a roll in the water, and you see their funny little feet sticking up out of the water. But he wasn't committed to do all of that. Well. Okay, good. Seb just heard the leopard call. Got my attention on it, and it's behind us somewhere. Cool! Woohoo! We're narrowing down the search. Just need to do a circle here and go back from whence we came. So there's obviously a little bit further away than Herbie thought. Jeez, Herbie's hearing is incredible to have heard it all the way from Cheetah Cut Line. Unless, of course, there's two leopard that could be vocalizing, but I'm not going to stick around to hear if another one responds. I would rather try and get us closer to that individual. I'm guessing our best bet is going to be to check Hyena Road. Excuse me. It's not too far from here, and that's going to be our best spot, I think, to check. Well, exciting stuff. Well done, Seb, for pointing out that audio for me. And we're going to continue rushing there and send you off for some sunset views.
No, sadly you haven't got the sunset views. You've got me tucking my cables away. They keep popping out, and then my clothes go everywhere. So it's obviously, as you can see, the light has completely deteriorated now. So we are making our way back. We've jumped onto the road. We moved off the animal pathways completely, as well, not too safe when you can't see very well. We actually missed that leopard soaring now the second time. We were just chatting about how exciting that baboon spider and the wasp was, which was pretty amazing. I'm sure you all agree. And now what we're going to do is we're probably going to try and give Scott a hand, seeing as though we've brought a vehicle. We're going to jump into the vehicle, and then I think we're going to have a little look around here. We don't have a spotlight though, but that's okay. We've still got a little bit of light, that at least if the cat is walking on the road, we should be able to help him find it. Some crested francolins giving their last call for the day. It sounds like there's quite a few different pairs, all calling one last time. Can you hear them? Very noisy. Might be a bit far away, but there's one just in here. So hopefully with all these birds around now too, if whichever leopard it may be comes moseying on through, we're going to be listening out for the alarm calls as well. Now, something that I haven't seen since I've been back in South Africa is serval and caracal. And taupe purple, you were wondering if we ever see them here. We occasionally do. I've seen a serval on Battalier Road, funny enough, quite a while ago. Couldn't get it on camera. It all happened too quickly. We very briefly got a caracal down at Cheetah Plains, which was really amazing to see as well. That was the first caracal I'd seen in the Sabi sand. So they're definitely around. But because of the abundance of leopards, lions, hyenas, the odd cheetah that passes through, those cats need to be a little bit wary. Also, the vegetation is very, very thick at the moment, as you've been seeing, so it becomes virtually impossible to spot smaller cats like that. But this is a really good time to see them. If we are going to see them, now is probably going to be it. Maybe just scuttling across the road. There are a lot of rodents around, so that's good news for the serval, for the caracal, because they will eat smaller prey like that. But unfortunately, it's basically now time that we start getting into the car, because I think this leopard is close by. The hippos are also going to start leaving the water, and it's probably not too safe for us to be walking around on foot at this time of the evening. But it is beautiful. It has been an amazing afternoon. We're going to give Scott a hand though and see if we can help him find this leopard soaring. While we do jump in the car and get all ready, I'm going to send you back across to Steve.
Thank you, Taylor. Wonderful, wonderful afternoon we are all having. Let's hope that you and Scott managed to find that leopard. I wonder if it was a male or a female, how long it called for. Definitely a difference in the length of the call. In my experience, males tend to call a bit longer, a bit shorter than females. Why am I getting that confused? It seems like forever since I've heard a leopard calling. But these lions, all of them slowly getting up, move about 10 to 15 meters, and then lie down again. I don't think anybody wants to instigate the movement. But who knows? Lots of toilet has been happening, and see this individual here, Davy. She's going to stalk, eh? She wanted to. There's still a lot of play going on. This youngster was looking at her brother coming, or sister, I didn't quite see, and was getting ready to pounce. I definitely think that these animals are quite hungry, and there might be some activity this evening. If only they could get up and start moving. There we go. Here we go. She's calling. A little call to her youngster there. To the littlest of the pride that is still at the back of the queue. She gave it just that little lion call. Joe, I have no idea what happened with Amber Eyes, and I think she was with at least 2 males of the Birmingham boys. She didn't seem keen at all, like normally a mating pair goes on and on and on. In the beginning you can almost time it every 7 to 8 minutes, and then 15 minutes, and then closer to 20 minutes intervals, and that goes on for 3.5 days. But she was with an individual at different times for not very long, and whenever we watched her, she was very disinterested in the affections of her suitor. Very disinterested. So I have no idea. She seems to be a bit of a strange lioness to me. But I'm sorry if anyone gets offended by that. But just the way she behaved in the mating and the fact that she has no cubs, there just seems to be something behaviorally different with her, and I can't explain it. Yeah, sure. How's that, Dave? Okay, we're going to go to IR now because the lights are getting quite dark. As I switch off this light here, there we have infrared. It's got a bit of a green tinge to it, but it means that we can watch these animals without having to disturb them, and they can get on with their usually. There we go. That's black and white. There's the IR in its full potential. And these lions are allowed now to do what they need to do under the approaching cover of darkness. and I know it's getting dark because I just saw the first bat fly over. I'm not able to capture that on film because they are extremely quick, but incredible that you can have these predators on the ground who have completely maxed out their potential and are at the top of the food chain, and then you get that mammal that has taken to the skies and is competing with birds but flying at night. Unbelievable. Bats are an absolute mystery to me. I don't really know too much about them. All I know is that there's more bat and rodent species in the world combined than any other mammal. I think majority, like 89% of the mammal species in the world are bats and rodents. So isn't that interesting? And there are still more species being found all the time. There we go. Isn't that a marvelous yawn? So these yawns and these stretches are always the beginning of the move. And I wouldn't be surprised if these lioness stand up in a moment or two and start moving in whatever direction it is that they decide to go. Who knows what determines the direction? I personally believe it's often wind direction. There's not a breath of fresh air, not a breath of air down in this dry riverbed. Nothing to blow away the smell of lion dung surrounding us. Purple, hello again. You would like to know how good a lion's eyesight is. It's probably about 20 times better than ours, which is phenomenal. We cannot see at night. And I think Taylor was answering a question about would leopards see better with color vision. And the thing is that to understand nocturnal versus color vision, to understand that fully, you need to understand the two types of cells that you can find in one's eye. The two types. One is a rod cell, which as the name implies is quite a long rod-like cell. And that is for black and white vision, and it allows for nocturnal vision. It doesn't give too much depth perception, but allows animals to see very, very well at night. Cone cells, which is what we primarily have in our eye, and most animals that see color have cone cells, and now, as the name implies, a cone, so kind of like a prism sort of effect, and they scatter the light in a way that allows you to see depth. But when it comes to nocturnal vision, you cannot see anything at night with cone cells. So what we have, and you should all try this, and I think I've mentioned this before on air. Have a look at this one, Dave. She's going to pounce. There's some youngsters getting very frisky, and you should all try this at home, folks. I'm just going to hold off speaking for a moment and see if she builds up to a proper pounce. She seems to be losing interest. But very obvious the intention, is it not? If you ever see a lion doing that towards your vehicle, as a guide, you should ask your guest in the back to sit down. Because that's probably what's happened. And the lion suddenly sees the human being, and it turns into a different behavior. See, so you can imagine if you were another lioness in this pride, and this was the lead lioness that is singled out, which is actually at the moment another lioness that's about 20 yards directly in front of her. The intention on the face indicates she spotted what she wants, and the direction of the head and the ears allows the others to also pick out and select exactly the direction she's looking. And they can either come around in sort of like a counter maneuver to come and swoop the animal from the back, or they can join in from a similar sort of position, but maybe a little bit more left and right of her, but that their energy is focused on the same individual. So that black and white gives the contrast that they see when they're looking at each other. And you can see on the IR how well it stands out, but obviously only from the back. So Fluffy, before I get to your question about how good is a lion's hearing, I would like all of you at some time to in your house at night, switch off the lights and then walk forward and see if you can find the light switch by facing forward, and then step back again and do the same thing by looking sideways. and see which one is better for finding the light switch when the house is very dark. Then maybe I can get some comments and stuff later or tomorrow when you in the Northern Hemisphere potentially have had an evening. It is getting dark where we are, and I'm sure a lot of you are only experiencing in the morning. So try that in your own leisure and see how it works, because essentially the human eye has got cone cells in the middle, and the outside of our eye has got a layer of rod cells, which gives us a little bit of nocturnal vision. So try that at home, but the lion's hearing is sensational. There it is. Sorry about the back of the vehicle, folks. Sorry about the vehicle in the shot, folks, but the little cub instigated that stalk, and both of the other lionesses now are involved, and that went on for a little while. That shows the patience of these cats, and I'm sorry that we have the aerial there, but I don't want to start up the engine because they are right behind the vehicle. But lions' hearing is very, very good. It's far better than ours. And also they live in this wilderness, so they understand the bush. I mean, if I've had students, for example, that come and spend 2 months in the bush with me, or used to anyway, and their hearing improved so much in those 2 months because they were forced to listen. Outshire animals depend on hearing for their survival, and so their hearing is very, very good. They can hear probably another lion roaring probably between 8 and maybe 10 kilometers away, so possibly 5 miles. They can hear the call of a lion. But then what their hearing is ultimately for is to hear animals moving in the undergrowth. So when it is really, really dark and maybe they can't quite make out or see an animal, then they can at least hear its movements and detect it that way. Okay, let's go over to Scott and see how he's sitting in Buffelshoek Dam and see if he's managed to locate that leopard.
So, we haven't heard any further vocalizations, sadly, and the vocalization we did hear, we weren't close enough to be able to pinpoint kind of where he was to justify driving around and searching. We need one more call from where we are here, and then we'll be able to actually start just driving around and searching that way. But for now, our ears are definitely our best bet to try and work out where exactly to drive around. Excuse me. So yeah, let's hope he calls again. My hearing's not the best, but I'm trying, I'm concentrating, and I'm confident that we are considerably closer to him than where we were at the dam wall. When Seb initially heard the rasping call, and it's been a long time since we've managed to share that with you. So I'm hoping that we do get lucky and find this leopard. We've still got a bit of time, so it's too soon to panic. And I could think of nothing better than finishing off what's been a great safari with an elephant's rasping call. Just heard an elephant. Got me excited, but not what we're looking for. Wakesha, you just said, geez, it's got dark very quickly. And yes, I guess it's fair to say it did get dark pretty quickly. And it's not quite pitch black yet. You can still see the camera still picking up a bit of light. But I reckon in the next 5 or 10 minutes, it will be pitch black. We're going to have a beautiful starry night. It's dead still, not a breath of wind. A magical, magical evening here in the low veld of South Africa. All we need is one more call of the leopard to help us pinpoint exactly where it's hiding. It's impossible to say whether it's a male or a female, in my opinion. Well, I can't tell the difference. So it could be either of the two vocalizing. And that's why we're so desperate to try and work out who it is, with all the interesting interactions and movements that have been happening, mainly the Hukumuri male coming onto Djuma, we started seeing him in December last year, and if he has come this far into Djuma, it will be the furthest by far that we've actually documented his movements into Djuma. It's not to say he hasn't waltzed through the whole property without our knowledge. Okay, well, we're going to stay put here. It's basically our only option. Well, not our only option, but I think it's our best option. And send you back to Steve. I hope those lions take you on a stroll.
Thanks, Scotty. I hope you're having a good sit and wait there, like the lilac-breasted roller, the sit and wait specialist. Listening out. Are your ears as good as these lions' ears? We've moved the car around so we can get a better visual of them and we don't have them walking behind us. And we can probably see them move in any direction from here. So hopefully we don't get to lose them if they do decide to suddenly get up and go for a wander, which is very likely. But here we go. Here comes one into the shot. Is that a lioness? It looks like it. There's no doubt she's going to walk up to another lioness and rub her face against the other one's cheek. Oh yes, Mina. Predator tail movements are very, very important to pay attention to. If you see a lioness whose tail is flicking from side to side, she is imminently about to charge, or she's very angry. If you say a lion that's tail is flicking up and down, the charge is about to happen. So the tail movements in a cat are very, very important, especially when they are being sort of defensive. And if you don't understand them, well, Scotty's patience has been paid off. Let's go over to him and see what he has found.
Well, we've got him. It's a male leopard, and I'm not too sure who it is yet. We just heard him call right behind our vehicle, and he was taking a quick drink at a small waterhole behind us. Who is it? Sure. I can't tell just yet who this is. Looks like he's got quite a full belly. It'll be so interesting. Netsukumori, he is coming closer towards us, so I'm confident we're going to be able to work out who in fact he is. But from how far he was, it's just too difficult to get enough detail on him, at least for me it is. How cool is this? And well done to Herbie and Taylor for initially picking up his audio. I'm going to need to reposition. Hold on a second, everyone. Just want to make sure we get some great views of them onto this road over here. Okay, he's going to pop out just here. Say about 9 o'clock. Sorry guys, it sounds like our signal's been a bit shaky. He's going behind us. Murphy's Law, he's just ducked behind us now. So difficult to know who he is. Any of you guys got any ideas? Please let us know. Take screenshots. And the good news is, not to worry, we're going to be able to link ahead of him. He's moving along a firebreak road. Which is interesting that it does look like it could be Djuma, but you're going to need to double check more carefully first. And sadly, it's going to be tricky. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way onto the main road. It's going to take me a minute or two to get ahead of. So let's do that quickly. Woohoo! Okay. So he's moving down a firebreak road parallel to this main road over here, which means hopefully he's going to stay on it, and it'll just allow me to shoot ahead and get a decent distance ahead of him before getting onto that firebreak road. Okay. So what we're going to try and do, just for identification purposes, is not actually use the IR lights to film him when he comes past us now. And once we've established who it is, then we'll go back into IR. Please, can we not hit a stump? No stumps, no stumps, no stumps. Please, may the leopard still be going along the road here. Okay, we're in the money. He's coming straight towards us. Don't go off the road, buddy. Hey? I think the IR is going to be better, to be honest, guys. We'll be able... Oh, well, let's try. He's going to pop out here. Let's try IR. It's just we didn't see him clearly enough and from close enough, but let's... Left a bit. He's just... There we go. He's going to come straight back onto the road. Now we're going to get some good views. I'm looking for a telltale scar just below his left eye. And it looks like he's got one there. I can't be certain just yet. Oh... So hard to tell. That's going to be my characteristic point. Turn your head a little bit more. He's not turning his head the right way for us to see that scar. Jeez, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like Tingana to me. I'm guessing it is in fact Hukumuri. Okay, I'm going to take this opportunity to just reverse a bit more. Nikki seems to think he looks more like Tingana than Hukumuri, so everyone's welcome to place their thoughts as to who they think it could be. I'm hoping if we get far enough down this road, he will pop back onto it. So quite a few of you are saying Hukumuri. Let's just wait here and see if he doesn't pop back onto the road. I'm confident he will. Danny, you saying not Hukumuri? He's definitely slinking off the roads to avoid us, which is interesting. Stay on the road, please, Seb. But it's definitely going to be his preferred pathway. Oh, this is tricky business, but we will definitely be able to get to the bottom of who he is with a few screenshots. It's very difficult when they're moving. And George, you just said, well, whoever he is, he's a big boy, and yes, he certainly is. He is a very, very impressive male leopard. Oh, well, this is very interesting stuff. And James Richard believes that this is the Djuma male, and that would possibly explain why he's slinking off the road. He's not very well habituated, and it's simply because it's after dark that he is allowing us to actually view him. You tend to find that male, or any leopards that are skittish ordinarily, will become less skittish after dark. And even if you're viewing them with a spotlight, they're far more accommodating than they would be during the day. This individual runs like mad if you find him during the daylight hours. And it is his usual turf, so it does make sense that it is in fact him. Well done, guys, and thanks very much to those of you who did positively identify him. I'm going to take your word for it. And, well, here he's back on the road. And by keeping the lights off, I'm hoping he's going to feel more at ease with us. Here he's scent marking again. Even I'm just going to turn off my presenter lights. So now we're sitting in pitch darkness, and how cool is this? And pacing straight down the road towards us. Now all we need for him to do is to vocalize one more time. Come on, boy. Give us a call. And it's hugely useful for us to be spending time with him and just getting him slowly more used to the vehicles. Even big old males can be habituated by spending extra time with them. Well, Janet, you suggested that you thought it could be Tingana because he was sawing. I would think the opposite. It seems like Tingana's trying to keep a low profile at the moment and not really making much of a stand, as far as we can tell. He doesn't seem to be getting in anyone's way. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. We're going to need to keep reversing. He's kind of adjacent to us again, and I just want to keep going down this road, allowing him to pop back onto it as and when he pleases, and thus giving us some good views. Wonderful. Well, we're going to try and get you some more views of him, and while we do that, we're going to send you back to Steve.
Thank you. Thanks very much. We're just trying to reposition and potentially getting a little bit stuck. So sorry, hold on there, Darby. The lions are just all standing up, and they are very interested in the car. Look at this little one here. What do you want there, young lady? You want to come and play with us now, do you? Isn't that a picture? Isn't that a beautiful lion there? So they're up and mobile, and we are going to follow them now. So wonderful that Scott's managed to find a leopard. I haven't seen Djuma before. Apparently he's quite shy and tends to move off. But let's continue on with these lions. Who knows what they might be up to. Here we go. In the road they go. Or should I say the riverbed. Oi, don't you try to play with my car. This lioness wanted to jump into my car. Very playful little individual. Don't do that. I wouldn't like it to try and grab my leg, because I think that would be quite painful. There would definitely be some stitches required. The four aces would like to know if these animals will mate depending on food resources and condition and all that. Definitely condition's a major one, but there tends to always be enough food for these animals in the savannah. I've never known for lionesses not to mate because of lacking in food, but drought conditions could lead to that. But what it generally leads to is rather into abortions or the fact of pregnancies not going to the full term. Doesn't mean the mating doesn't happen. Like in birds, birds are all about condition. If the condition is not right, if the food resources are not right, then they generally won't mate or breed, that is. They won't find the breeding plumage. But I've never known that with lions. When they are in estrus, the males are generally, essentially, the lions do very well in drought conditions, because that's when all the other animals are doing very, very badly. And even when the conditions are good, the lions are still doing well. So unless conditions are completely unsuitable and a lot of prey animals disappear, then who knows? It's possible that the lions will not mate. It is very difficult to be pregnant if you are struggling to feed yourself. But here we are with the Nkuhumas. They are finally moving. We're going to follow them, and let's go up to Scott for a quick update.
Well, the Djuma male has disappeared for the time being, but at least we got a glimpse of him, and thanks to your guys' help, we got to work out who it was. So massive thanks to all of you who contributed to that very useful information, and I'd like to just say a big thanks once last time, and goodbye from myself. We're going to send you back to Steve for the last few minutes.
Thanks, Scotty. We are waiting for the last of the lioness to get in front of us before we start moving, and we're going to follow them for about a minute or so for the rest of the show, and who knows what they could get up to in that time. So let's have a look. Isn't this wonderful that we've got the use of infrared? There she comes. I think that's the last of them. Okay, I put my lights on. And this seems to be the injured female at the back, just by the way she's waddling. I just got a very nice whiff there of a toilet stop of one of the lionesses. I hope I didn't get my wheel in it. It's definitely a smell that those of you back home are quite happy or glad that you are not able to witness. We have had a wonderful afternoon with the Unkuhumas, a new male leopard that I have not seen, Tamba doing his thing, moving and drinking, lion cubs playing and jumping up and down, and now they're moving. And thank you for joining us. Another episode of Safari Live from myself and all the crew. We see you tomorrow morning. Have a beautiful evening.